Hello and welcome to episode 46 of Some Like It Real. I'm Bryan.
And I'm Veronica.
And we're two cinephiles who love to talk movies.
We have weekly episodes discussing our newest films, creating lists and drafts, and keeping you updated on the latest movie headlines and awards races.
As a reminder, please like, rate, and subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast platforms, which helps more people find the show.
And share it with any cinephiles in your life.
Well, guys, after the homecoming, going far from home, and finding no way home, it's a brand new day as we are here to talk about Spider-Man Brand New Day.
Yes, Spider-Man Brand New Day. Our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man is back on the big screen. So get your web shooters ready as we swing our way towards this review.
And before we get into all of that, let's play some catch-up.
Yes, we had, speaking of Marvel, we had some news in the Marvel world, two major pieces. Number one, that Wonder Man has been canceled at Disney Plus after it was previously announced that it was being renewed for season 2. This is a series that came out this year starring Yahya Abdul-Mateen and Ben Kingsley, and it was well regarded on release. I was a bit surprised when the second season was announced, but then I was even more surprised that decision was reversed, and the show is now canceled. Yahya received an Emmy nomination for his performance. It was directed by Dustin Daniel Craig, who did the movie that we're about to speak about, or Dustin Daniel Cretton, who's directed the movie that we're about to speak about today. That is sure to be a giant hit. This was kind of a big surprise that they would reverse a decision like this, especially amid the Spider-Man weekend and like we said, Emmy success. So I was definitely shocked at the poor handling of this announcement. What about you, Bryan?
So, admittedly, I haven't watched Wonder Man quite yet. I saw Brand New Day on Wednesday night. This news was reported on Thursday, and I shit you not, when the movie ended and I was talking with my friends who had watched Wonder Man, I was like, okay, this weekend, I'm finally going to cross it off the watch list. I'm just not as on top of television as I want to be, quite frankly. But this news really surprised me because it got renewed for a second season, and now you're reversing that decision. It makes no sense. And then doing further research, it's like, oh, well, it seems that the people forgot about this and they moved on to other projects. It's a little strange to me that you renew it, and then months later you're like, we're going to cancel it. Why would you do that? It makes no sense at all. But I also remember reading that this was intended to be a one-season thing, and because it was such a success critically and audience-wise for the platform, they greenlit a second season. So I guess in the long run, and I don't know how the show ends, and please don't spoil it for me or anything, but does it end like on an open-ended note, or does it feel like that was a one-and-done thing?
It definitely could continue. Yeah, it's not. I could see if it was originally conceived as a one thing. It leaves the door open definitely for like those characters to reappear, whether that is in a second season or just in other properties. But it's and I highly recommend you still watch it. Like I think even as a one-off, it's still successful. It's not like if they leave us hanging with no second season, then the whole thing is unsatisfying. I still really love the series. It's a Hollywood satire based in this superhero world, and I think that Marvel, but superhero blockbuster storytelling in general is just going to be more successful if you can kind of like do something a little bit less expected with it. If you can kind of set it in a different genre like that, or it was very successful for me. I was very excited for a second season that unfortunately we're not going to get now. And it's been a topic of conversation lately that sort of a combination of events of people not liking the rollout of the treatment of Chris Evans versus Anthony Mackie in the Doomsday rollout in terms of treating Chris Evans like he's still Captain America when that mantle has been passed. I think there's a general brewing sense of like Marvel not treating its black characters with all that much respect and care, and kind of like shoving some of these new people that we've tried to add to the MCU to the side in favor of the big guns who started off the MCU. And just in general, I think that this is an attitude towards the franchise that's brewing, and I don't know. Hopefully they step up and start treating these characters with a little more care, but we shall see.
And let's not forget, too, Mahershala Ali just called out Marvel because of everything that went down with Blade. Blade was announced literally 7 years ago at Comic-Con, and that movie was supposed to already be a thing, But then all these things were happening with the strikes and all these scheduling shuffles and everything. So the movie ultimately ended up not happening. And Mahershala Ali, the director of that movie, went on to make another movie, which is coming out later this year. And Mahershala Ali literally put his foot down and said, I've answered every question I possibly can about this movie. If you want to ask, go ask Kevin Feige and the heads of Marvel. They have $1 billion, and they ultimately didn't do anything with this project. And Kevin Feige recently called himself a loser for everything that went down with Blade. Yeah, dude, you kind of are a loser for what you did with it. So do better.
That quote has been circulated a lot this week. People are like, "Yeah, he did it again." I think also the actress Tiona Paris, who plays Monica Rambeau, I think she had a quote too about like, "Yeah, I don't really know when she's coming back. I haven't like basically they haven't called me." So yeah, just a bit of a pattern at this point. And as we've talked about, Marvel is maybe, I don't know, maybe not in the best position right now, but yeah, that's generally fans they're facing a little bit of backlash right now, and I think rightfully so.
Exactly, exactly. It's very frustrating news, and with this whole Wonder Man cancellation, it's disappointing to say the least. But I really loved Yaya's Instagram post where he's like, "See you at the Emmys."
Yeah, I mean that's hard to be nominated for an Emmy for a show. You expect to get a second season, and they're like, "Oh no, never mind." Like what else? What other metrics do you need for it to be a successful show?
Someone posed an interesting question on Twitter, and we'll be quick about this before we go on to the next story. Because he got nominated for comedy series instead of limited series, but now that it's no longer like a continuing series, would they rebuke his nomination, or are they going to keep it? I would assume they keep it at this rate.
That's so interesting. Yeah, I don't know.
I would
know
hope
it's
they
kind
keep
of,
it.
It's gone the other way where someone is in limited and then they decide to renew it for a second season. Like I think shows play that game a lot.
Yeah, like
sometimes,
White
but
Lotus did that.
exactly, yeah. So I don't know. I can't imagine like if that's the circumstances under which he was nominated, I would assume that it would stay, but yeah, I'm curious to know if that's happened before.
Yeah, I would hope that it doesn't revoke his nomination, because that would be
Yeah.
really messed up if that's the case. Like, he's
That would be
already
even worse,
nominated.
yeah.
Just let him have the nomination. Just like it deserves it, quite frank. And I haven't even watched the show, but I'm a big fan of him. I've been a fan of him for a very
Yeah.
long time. So I definitely will prioritize watching it now for sure. Like, that will definitely be a top priority for me for
Yeah, definitely
sure.
for anyone who hasn't watched it, don't let, not getting a season 2 discourage you. Like I think it's still well worth a watch.
Yeah, I look forward to checking it out. It sounded very promising when it was coming out, so I'm really excited to get into it. Something else that I personally am pretty intrigued by when it comes to Marvel, we just talked all this smack about them, and they absolutely do deserve it, but I will say that if there's a compliment that I could give Marvel, I will toss it their way. So we all know that an X-Men movie is coming. We don't know exactly when it's coming, but we know that it's in the works, and it's moving along very swiftly and everything. We know that Jake Schreier, who directed Thunderbolts, will be helmeted. But we just learned of the first official cast member for the movie, and that is Samara Weaving joining the film as Emma Frost. Now, Emma Frost was previously portrayed by January Jones in X-Men First Class. So I have to say that Samara Weaving, one of my favorite people in the industry right now. So beautiful, so ferocious. Literally, she's been in 3 movies this year, none of which I've still seen, by the way. I need to watch all 3 of them. But I like her a lot. She's proven herself to be a bit of a badass, and I don't know a ton about the character Emma Frost. Admittedly, X-Men, I'm not as well versed with knowing these characters as other people are, but Samara Weaving joining this project, I think it's a pretty good casting, quite frankly, and I've always envisioned her to play a superhero or a supervillain, and I'm really glad that she's playing this character, and I find it kind of interesting, too, that this character is the first casting announced, considering it's not a big name character like a Wolverine or a Storm or a Cyclops. So I'm really interested to see how the rest of this cast plays out. I know that there's been recent reports that Indy Navarrete might be in talks to join this project because she's met with Jake Schreier and she really wants to join this movie and everything. So I'm sure in the next few weeks we'll hear that she's in the movie as well and everything. And good for her, quite frankly. But yeah, Samara Weaving joining the X-Men, I think this is a pretty good cast. And I'll watch her in anything, quite frankly.
I agree. Yeah, I really love her as an actress. Yeah, I have seen the three films that she's in this year, and they're all good to great. Caroline, I especially enjoyed. Really recommend that anyone seeks that out and tries it. But yeah, I think she's got a good sensibility for this. I think she's especially with breaking out with Ready or Not, like she's kind of well known for that like action comedy style. She can be a very physical performer, so I could totally see her taking up a superhero mantle kind of thing. Yeah, I agree. I'm not super familiar with X-Men characters as well. I know that this is one that a lot of people were excited for. And yeah, the other casting rumors flying around. I've also heard just rumors that our beef couple is also in talks. Charles Melton and Kaylee
Oh,
Sweeney have both been
Kaylee Spaney in
like
X-Men would
rumored to
change my
be
life. That
involved.
would change my life if she plays a superhero. Oh my god.
She could, yeah, she could kill it. And I'm curious where we are right now. I feel like there was a sense a couple years back or so that some of the more A-list and or up and coming stars were like not so keen on getting involved with a giant superhero franchise. There was something for Thunderbolts. I think that it was like Io Debris was going to be in that. Stephen Yeun was going to be in that. They both dropped out and changed roles, and not
Because
explicitly
I
why,
think it
but
was partially because of this, because that movie was affected by the strikes.
right,
So
yeah.
I think that it was because of a scheduling conflict. I think Iowa Debris was supposed to play Geraldine's
Yes,
character,
her part,
and
and
Stephen
Stephen
Young.
Yeun
I
was
wonder who he was supposed to. Can you imagine if
he
he
was
was supposed
supposed
to
to
play
be.
Bob?
He was, yeah, I think so.
Oh my god, that would have been incredible. But Lewis is so good in that
Because
role.
that was Jake Schreier who did episodes of the first season of Beef and
That's
everything. So I
right.
assume they had a
Oh, Stephen Young
relationship. He would have
playing
been great,
Bob.
yeah.
That would have been fucking sick.
Which is like, yeah, and that's yeah. I guess that came out in 25. So I don't, yeah, I guess strikes were maybe involved, but yeah, just it was kind of this sense of like anytime someone had a big breakthrough, it was like, oh, we're gonna fan cast them in as some comic book character, and I feel like that died down for a little bit. I kind of feel it like picking back up. Like I kind of feel like
Yeah.
Samara Weaving. I'm sure she's got her pick of projects and doesn't have to get involved with signing up for this multi-movie, possibly decade-spanning contract that they all have to agree
Right.
to. So yeah, I think it's interesting that we're swinging this pendulum swinging back a little bit this way, and people are willing to get involved again.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how this X-Men movie plays out. And I was also reading that the people that are writing it were actually behind the script for Thunderbolts. So it's nice to see that the Thunderbolts team is coming together to bring this project to life. I'm very interested to see where it goes. I'm very interested to see how it all plays out. And it's interesting too because we're getting X-Men actors reprising their role in Doomsday. So it's like we're gonna get those actors and then we're gonna get these new X-Men. So I'm wondering how it all ties together.
Yeah, I am hoping that they continue to put the care and time and effort into building up these new characters rather than just throwing the old ones at us over and over again. But
Couldn't agree more.
an actress like Samara Weaving is will help with that. I think she's got the star power and the talent to really carry something.
100%.
We have some more casting news announcements. Obsession star Michael Johnston is in talks to join The Mummy 4. This has previously been announced that Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz are returning and reprising their famous roles. This is going to be directed by the Radio Silence duo. I really like them, speaking of Ready or Not and Samara Weaving. I definitely feel like they have a good tone to contribute to this. Very excited to see Brendan and Rachel back again. And yeah, Michael Johnston, in our Obsession review, I was not blown away by him. I think that's a tough character, the way that he's presented and everything. But I could definitely see him, blooming in some other context, and I'm curious to see what else he can do. Obviously, I don't think he's done anything on this scale before. So, yeah, I mean, I think Indy Navarrete first and foremost is going to blow up from Obsession, but I would stand to reason that every actor involved with that is going to have a lot of opportunities to choose from. So, yeah, I think this could be exciting. I'm curious to see what else he can do.
Our favorite little food critic is coming back. Um, our favorite bear. So as the obsession head on this podcast, very excited to see all these actors branch out into other projects and other roles. Yes, you can make comments about the character and how it's written and everything. I do think that he gave a pretty terrific performance playing that character that tries to get us to like him, but we know deep down that we're not supposed to like him. So I really admire him for bringing that character to life. And I'm really excited to see what he does in this project. It's not revealed who he's going to play in this. I would assume maybe like the son of these two characters. I don't know. I don't really know how this whole movie's gonna work because it's like they made a third Mummy, which Rachel Weisz was not in, but apparently that's not canon. I don't know exactly what's happening, quite frankly, but I'm very excited to see Brendan and Rachel back together in these roles. It is cool that both of them are now Oscar winners and everything, so that's going to be really fun to see how that's marketed and everything. Radio Silence at the helm, very interested to see what they do with this project. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to this, and I'm excited mainly to see him do something outside of Obsession. So, I think it could be a really fun project for him to be a part of, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, so exciting that such a small indie movie is like launch these people into like international stars at this point who could like have their pick of projects.
Yes,
I can't
absolutely.
imagine that any of them pictured this when they signed up for this movie.
Oh no, not at all. And I mean, the fact that one of them is getting awards buzz for her performance is insanity to me. Like that's so cool for such a little indie film that blew up to be a massive success across the board. So I'm very excited to see how all of them branch out following that movie and everything.
Yeah.
Speaking of a project that I and I would assume you are very excited for, we know about the next film from Olivia Wilde, director Olivia Wilde to be exact. She's going to be helming a Santa Claus comedy called Naughty, which is supposed to be this raunchy R-rated comedy, which yes, all the way, absolutely. And we learned the two stars of the film, Jennifer Aniston and Peter Dinklage. Jennifer Aniston will be playing a single mom named Mallory, while Peter Dinklage, Tyrion Lannister himself, will be playing the King of Christmas, Santa Claus. So, Naughty centers on Mallory, whose only hope of securing custody of her son from her gaslit trash bag ex is to find Santa Claus and convince him to testify in her divorce hearing. Yeah, I'm all in for this project. Quite frankly, I'm very excited to check this out. If you've been listening to the pod, you know that we were both massive fans of Olivia Wilde's newest film, The Invite, and I think she's been proven herself to be a really exceptional filmmaker. Her second film was not the greatest project, unfortunately, but everyone has a bad day at the office. But her first film was also a massive winner in Booksmart. So, yeah, I'm really excited for this. I love a Christmas movie. I love a raunchy Christmas movie, especially. If you listen to one of our recent drafts where we did the threequels draft, I put Harold and Kumar Christmas, and that is not a movie for the family at all. And I assume that this is not going to be the same way at all. And Jennifer Aniston and Peter Dinklage, what a hell of a duo! That sounds like a great banter, and I'm very excited for this, quite frankly. So yeah, more Olivia Wilde behind the camera, please, and these two in it. Sure, sign me up.
Yeah, I'm there. I'm ready. I definitely, yeah, like we said, we were big fans of the invite. I think that I'm excited that she's doing like a full out comedy from what it appears. It's been described as Bridesmaids at the North Pole, and I'm like, sure, I am in. I think that in hearing her talk about in interviews for the invite and stuff, she talked a lot about how she's attracted to the idea of like comedies and then like thrillers because they're both about like such about timing, so much about the rhythm of laughs or of scares or adrenaline or everything. So yeah, I kind of feel like if she I feel like she built up a lot of credit with the invite. I think that's a fairly successful movie box office wise, but also just going to be so widely critically acclaimed that I'm glad that she can kind of have a little bit of reign to do whatever she wants to do next. And like yeah, an R-rated Christmas comedy, absolutely. And Jennifer Aniston, Peter Dinklage, big fans of them both. I think that they could definitely crush it with some of this material. I'm curious to see who else will be in the cast if this is going to be like pretty star-studded. But yeah, I'm seated.
Absolutely.
I also would hope to be seated for the next bit of news, which is that Behemoth has been announced as a centerpiece selection at the New York Film Festival, where it will be making its world premiere. We've talked about this project quite a bit. This is Tony Gilroy's new movie starring Pedro Pascal. This one it's going to be premiering at Alice Tully Hall. It'll be, all the stars in attendance, presumably. This is going to be, the big centerpiece of the festival, which there's been speculation about where it was going to land. But yeah, I mean, for what might be like a New York set movie. I think that this makes some sense for and for Gilroy to show up here. So yeah, what did you think about it landing at NIF?
This was a massive surprise for me. I had a
Mhm.
feeling that it would come to the New York Film Festival, but a lot of us were speculating where it was going to make its world premiere because they announced the Venice lineup recently. It wasn't there, so people were like, "Oh, maybe it's going to go to Telluride because it feels Telluride or TIFF," but it wasn't announced on the TIFF lineup either. So it's like we'll see where it goes. So when this news came out that it was making its world premiere in New York, I thought that was a massively awesome acquisition from NIF because they don't really do a lot of world premieres. And when they do, it's really, really rare. So for them to have the world premiere of Tony Gilroy's new movie with this star-studded cast, I think is a really awesome pick. And as someone who attends the New York Film Festival every year, I'm so excited that I basically already have a ticket locked in for this movie because I bought a centerpiece pass. So I'm going to be there to watch Tony Gilroy's next masterpiece in person. Pedro Pascal, I will be in the same room as him. Hopefully, I will be feet away from him. I will tell him that this is the way, and it will be so fun to see my boy. I can't wait. And then seeing Will Arnett again, and then Eva Victor, and then Queen Olivia
Olivia Wilde,
Wilde.
yeah.
Like, I'm so excited. This was really awesome news when it came out. So, yeah, I'm very excited that this is going to be playing at the New York Film Festival, and I'll get to watch it 2 months before it comes out.
You
Yay
what?
for me.
Oh, it's yeah. Yeah, no, this is exciting, and hopefully, yeah, I don't know, I haven't secured any tickets yet or anything. I will see what my schedule and wallet are looking like when it comes around. But obviously, this is one of my more anticipated movies of the year, so definitely, I'm excited. At least there'll be buzz around the city for it,
If you get to go, you get to tell Tony Gilroy how much you love Andor and how you're the number one fan.
and that my co-host still hasn't watched it yet.
Well, maybe by that
Thanks.
time I will have watched
There's a
it.
lot to watch. It's okay.
So we have a few trailers to talk about before we get into the main topic. So first up, we have Children of Blood and Bone, the new film from Gina Prince Bythewood, who previously directed The Woman King, Love and Basketball, just to name a few films. This has a humongously talented cast. It's based on a young adult novel of the same name. I thought this trailer was really sick. I thought it looked really, really cool. It kind of looked like a spiritual successor of The Woman King, which kind of makes sense to a degree because one, it's directed by the same person, and two, like three of the actors from that movie happen to be in this one as well. So I thought the trailer looked pretty promising, and I'm looking forward to it because of the talent involved. And I love myself a cool fantasy epic film with really cool set pieces and choreography. And from the trailer, it seems to promise us that. So yeah, thumbs up for me from this trailer. Definitely one of my anticipated titles of next year.
Yeah, totally co-sign. I really enjoyed The Woman King. I think that got really underrated. I think it got, a little bit buried in COVID and everything and didn't really get the recognition that it deserved.
She should have been, Viola Davis should have been nominated for an Oscar
Yeah,
for that.
yeah, for sure. And this, yeah, definitely spiritual successor definitely is how I would describe it. So yeah, I'm definitely excited for Gina Prince Bythewood working more in that vein.
Who's the main actress in this? I don't know how to pronounce her name. Thuzo Mabudu?
I'm not positive.
I think that's her name. She was so good in The Woman King. I remember that a lot of people were putting her on their personal like supporting actress ballots of that year. And also Lashana Lynch in that movie was awesome
Really
too.
good. Yeah.
So like that movie was, oh my god, that movie was fucking good. I need to watch that again.
Yeah, I
That's
haven't gone back to it since it came out, but yeah, definitely
that
remember enjoying
that's
it.
definitely a rewatch for sure. The next trailer that we have is for a film called Wicker, which was a film that premiered at Sundance earlier this year. It is a comedy, a romantic fantasy comedy starring everyone's favorite Olivia Colman, as well as Alexander Skarsgård, Elizabeth Debicki, Richard E. Grant, and the man we just brought up, Peter Dinklage. So this trailer shocked me because I didn't really know anything about this movie. I remember hearing a little bit about it at Sundance, but I didn't know a ton about it and everything. I was like, oh, I like Olivia Colman. I like Alexander Skarsgård. There's sex in it? Sure, that sounds hot. Sign me up. The movie is about a woman who lives in a fishing village who commissions a husband for herself made entirely out of wicker. What a fascinating premise, and that husband is played by Alexander Skarsgård. Honestly, the trailer really hooked me. I thought it looked really funny and very entertaining. And again, who doesn't love Olivia Colman? She's one of our greats working today, and she could do comedy so well if you give her a good script. And it kind of felt like from watching the trailer that she's bringing a bit of elements from her work in The Favorite to this performance, which to me that is an all-timer performance. That's one of my favorite Best Actress wins of the past like 25 years. So yeah, I'm looking forward to Wicker. I thought it looked very promising from the trailer, and it made me laugh way more than I anticipated.
Yeah, I agree that I was like, I saw the trailer and I was like, oh, that sounds familiar that Olivia Colman and Alexander Skarsgård are in something together, but I didn't really remember hearing much buzz or discussion about it or anything. So yeah, the trailer was so fun. Oh my God. It was very funny. It was, you're right to point out that, Olivia Colman is so good in comedy. I mean, The Favorite, definitely, but she was really good in Wicked Little Letters with Jessie Buckley a couple of years ago too.
Yeah, I
And
haven't seen
kind of
that one. I
feels
heard
like,
good things.
yeah, it's like that very, sort of like sharp British humor, and this seems along the same lines with this added fantasy element. I've loved all of the, people already. The online speculation begins of like how exactly does sex with the Wicker Man work, which is I'm delighted to look forward to that discourse when this movie comes out.
It's gonna be like, how does a woman fuck a fish in Shape of Water?
Exactly.
It's like that discourse all over
She
again.
explains in The Shape of Water. She has a visual
She'll
demonstration,
probably
but
explain it in Wicker as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
Anyone listening to the pod that saw the movie at Sundance, don't spoil that for us, though, please.
Yeah. Yes, we will figure out the Splinter situation once we see it. But yeah, I'm so down for this. I agree. I'm not usually that blown away by trailers or excited by something because I generally have a sense of the movie already. But yeah, I had no prior knowledge of this, and I was like, oh, this seems like a really fun, weird little movie. Yeah, I'm excited for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up, Jumanji Open World. This is the newest installment of the Jumanji franchise. This has been confirmed to be the final installment of this Jumanji series as well. Of course, this franchise started back in the 90s with the classic film starring Robin Williams. And then just about 10 years ago, it's been 9 years exactly since this franchise got rebooted. And we got Dwayne Johnson, Jack Black, Karen Gillan, Kevin Hart starring as our four characters. We had the first one, Welcome to the Jungle, in 2017. Then we had the next level just 2 years later in 2019. So now, 7 years later, which is crazy. That's such a long time between one sequel and another. We have this final one coming out. I'm not a humongous Jumanji guy. Like, I grew up with the Robin Williams one, but it was never a favorite of mine as a child and everything. But I love Robin Williams, so I remember watching it quite a bit growing up and everything. And I will say that I have a soft spot for these movies with these actors. Are they great? No. Are they stupid? Yes. Do they embrace their stupidity? 100%. And I love the chemistry between the four of them. I think they all play off each other really, really well. Obviously, Dwayne Johnson and Kevin Hart have worked together many times, and we know that they have a great rapport with one another. But then Jack Black, who doesn't love him, and Karen Gillan proves that she has great comedic timing in these movies. So the trailer for this, we're now basically in the human world, and the characters come out of the game into the world, and they're playing their game counterparts and everything, and it pokes fun at like video game playmates and everything. So the trailer didn't blow my socks off or anything, but it looked fun, it looked entertaining, it looks charming, and I do look forward to checking this out and everything. So I'm very excited to see what all these actors do, and they're playing fun by acting as these human counterparts and everything. And I I like the end of the trailer where the little boy is inside Kevin Hart and he acts all terrified, and then Dwayne Johnson, the mother character, is inside him, so she comforts him, and then he like kisses him on the forehead. I thought that was really funny. And violence is never the answer, sweetie. And then he's like, oh, nobody hurts my boy. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it looks fun for what it is. It looks entertaining.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the original Robin Williams. That was like a big childhood movie for me. But I haven't, other than clips and isolated scenes here and there, I haven't seen any of the rebooted series and stuff. So I know that it's pretty well liked. I would definitely wouldn't mind catching up with it before this new one. Yeah, I agree. Like it was from the trailer, I was like, okay, I get it. I can see how this is funny, and it's got it's got that body swap element of it, which is always entertaining. And you get to see The Rock acting like a mom, and so yeah, I'm willing to catch up on the series and check this new one out.
Yeah, and then Jack Black doing the accent of like the Russian Hungarian guy and everything. Oh, it's me inside of you. Like I'm. Oh man, so fun. These
It's
movies are very
it's
very
rich
fun.
for some good comedy and stuff.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Absolutely. And lastly, the trailer. The first trailer came out for the Thomas Crown Affair. This is the next outing from director, recent Oscar winner Michael B. Jordan, who also will be starring in this film. The Thomas Crown Affair has been brought to screen many times. We had a film in the 60s with Steve McQueen, and then we had a film in the 90s with Pierce Brosnan, and now here we are with Michael B. Jordan at the helm. And one of the things that I took away from the trailer immediately when I watched it, I was like, wow, Michael B. Jordan must be a massive fan of Tenet because there's a lot of Tenet comparisons here in the trailer. Also, it's fitting that Kenneth Branagh is in the movie too, so that adds on to it as well. This trailer, I thought, kind of ripped really hard. I was really blown away by what Michael B. Jordan is showing here behind the camera. I thought he did a really good job directing Creed 3, and that was a big film to put as your directorial debut, but he showed a lot of promise with that film, and now he's doing this like action espionage heist thriller, and it looks pretty cool, and it also looks incredibly sexy as fuck. But what do you expect when you have Michael B. Jordan and Adria Arjona as your leads? Nothing but sexiness. Like, oh my god, this looks so sick, and it comes out right around my birthday, so I'm looking forward to it. I I've never seen any of the other Thomas Crown Affair films and everything, so I can't comment on those and everything and how this compares to those. But the trailer showcased a lot of promise for me, and there was a lot of cool set pieces where I'm like, oh, Michael B. Jordan is really going for it. And in the trailer, when it said from Oscar winner Michael B. Jordan, I'm like, that's fucking right. Let's fucking go. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. I thought the trailer looked pretty fucking rad.
yeah, it's I don't have really any relationship to the other two iterations of it, but I love to see incredible actors be cool and sexy, and so this was given a lot of that. And yeah, definitely Tenet comparisons, which I mean, Tenet is also kind of in the line of like James Bond movies, and that's sort of been called like the closest thing to Nolan's Bond and stuff. So yeah, just that whole general. I mean, I would like to see it. I would like to see the actors be very cool and sexy, please.
Yeah, like this looks very promising and everything. And again, I think it's pretty cool that Michael B. Jordan, he could have done someone a lot smaller for his second film as a director, but he chose to do something honestly even bigger than Creed 3. Like Creed
Yeah, it's
3 is
ambitious.
not an easy film to direct with all the boxing matches and everything, but like there's sequences where he's like fighting people and he's running up buildings and it's like, "Oh, you're really going for it this time, dude."
This trailer looked gorgeous, and from just looking at it, it looks like it's on a lot of locations. It looks incredible. Like it was very. I'm sure it was
Shot
like a
by
huge
Bradford
undertaking.
Young, who shot Arrival, and he hasn't shot a movie since Solo, which came out almost 10 years ago. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does here with such a big action tentpole film that obviously looks much better than Solo, because Solo looked like crap.
Hopefully.
So yeah, very promising film. Also, Lily Gladstone's in this, and I'm very excited to see her in the film again. Feel like
Yeah,
I haven't
definitely.
seen her in anything in so long.
Yeah, she's made one or two smaller movies since Killers of the Flower Moon, but yeah, definitely want to see her in another big movie like this.
Yeah, I hope that she plays like a badass in this. That would be really fun. I'm really looking forward to this. Yeah, I mean, I didn't dislike any of the trailers that came out this week, so
Yeah,
that's a win for me, quite
that's yeah,
frankly.
that's unusually
Yeah, usually there's always that one trailer that's like, that doesn't look that
dud.
good.
Yeah,
No, I liked all four trailers that came out. So,
true. Yeah,
what a
we're
win for
we're getting
us.
into the good movie season. There
Yes, we are.
everything's around the
It took
corner.
long enough, but we're finally here.
Yes, it does. So that concludes our weekly catch up. So it's time to get into today's main topic, Spider-Man: Brand New Day, which happens to be our first MCU review for the podcast. This is the summer of Tom Holland, Zendaya, and John Bernthal, and it continues this weekend. So this is sure to be one of the year's biggest films yet. We're gonna dive right into it, but first, non-spoiler thoughts, and then crawl right into the spoilers. So, Brian, how are you feeling walking into the newest Spider-Man film, and how'd you feel walking out?
So before we get into talking about Brand New Day, I think we should do a bit of a background and talk about our feelings towards. We could definitely share our thoughts on Spider-Man on screen as a whole, but kind of focus into the MCU Spider-Man and everything. So we just did an MCU draft. That was our most recent episode, so definitely go check that out. We got all three Spider-Man Tom Holland movies on the board, so definitely check that out and everything. I've loved Spider-Man my entire life. Definitely one of my favorite superheroes as a kid, and as an adult I've always enjoyed going back and seeing how he's portrayed on screen. Obviously, within the last few years, not only have we had Tom Holland's iteration as Spider-Man, but we've also had the Spider-Verse movies, which were both very beloved, and we're getting the next one next year. Looking forward to that for sure. So I love Spider-Man, and going into Tom Holland's iteration, I love him in the role, and I do like all the movies that he's been a part of as this character. I think that even though all three of them have their flaws, they're very rewarding watches, and it's the kind of projects to where I wish that we had gotten as Spider-Man way before this and everything, where he's an actual kid and we see him acting like a kid and we don't see a 30-year-old playing him, and there's a lot of charm and quirk and humor and love poured into the projects. So walking into Brand New Day, I looked at it from two different lenses. I looked at it as a Spider-Man movie and I looked at it as a Marvel movie. As a Spider-Man fan, I was looking forward to it. I was really interested to see how they were going to continue his story following the very tragic events of No Way Home and how that wrapped up and everything. As a Marvel fan, I walked in with some trepidation because we've said this many, many times on the podcast. Marvel these last few years has been a bit up and down. When they put out a good film, we will acknowledge it. But for the most part, the last few years, the films that they put out have been kind of mid to not very good. So I was wondering where this was going to fall in line. But I was a bit more open-minded to it because John Watts, who previously directed the first three, wasn't coming back for this. Instead, we had Destin Daniel Cretton at the helm. He directed Shang-Chi, which is a film that I very much love and I think is one of the more underrated MCU entries, and we brought up earlier in the episode that he also created Wonder Man. So he's definitely a favorite amongst Marvel for sure. And from how people were describing this movie before it was coming out, it was going to be a lot more grounded and scaled back and on the streets and not rely so much on CGI and green screen effects. It was going to feel very much in the moment compared to the other Spider-Man movies that we've received, especially in the MCU. So I was very much looking forward to it. I've only seen the movie once. I saw it a few nights ago. I have to say that I had a feeling that I would like it. I didn't think that I was going to like it as much as I did. This movie has sat very well with me in the days since I've seen it, and I'm honestly on the train of saying that this movie was kind of great in my opinion. And I will preface that there are problems with the movie and we will get into that. It's a bit overstuffed. It juggles a lot, certainly. It might bite off a bit more than they could chew, admittedly. But to me, when it is at its highs, it's really, really high. Tom Holland might be his best performance as this character, and honestly, I think that you can make a case that this is the best performance of his career. The places that he takes Peter Parker and Spider-Man in this movie were certainly not expected, but it was so refreshing to kind of see him in adult form because we spent 3 movies with him as a child, and after everything that went down in his previous film, we see him mature and evolve and grow, and we also see a lot of darkness underneath him, which I thought was beautifully handled. And as someone who takes note of how mental health is portrayed on screen very, very seriously, I was so impressed with how they were able to juggle that while also presenting itself as an entertaining popcorn blockbuster romp, but it didn't shy away from putting care into the characters and their journeys and their arcs and their growth. And I think that this movie is a beautiful representation of how you need to take care of yourself and you need to focus on yourself and remind yourself of why you're so loved instead of drowning yourself in the thing that ultimately takes you away from who you are. And to see that journey for Peter Parker here, I was not expecting that at all. So to me, that was a humongously rewarding element of the film, and I thought it was so beautifully constructed. And on top of that too, the action set pieces are very well utilized here. I like that they used very little CGI, very little green screen. I could tell that they relied a lot on real locations and in camera movements, and I overall was pretty blown away, despite the fact that there are problems with the movie. It's not perfect by any means, but it was much better than I had any anticipation it being. Again, I had a feeling that I would like it because I liked all three other Tom Holland Spider-Man movies. This is my favorite of the bunch, and it's sitting super well with me. I'm excited to check it out again when I get the chance. And yeah, I didn't think that I was going to be as high on this as I was, but I'm a big fan. I really like this overall. How about you? Where do you stand on this movie?
Nice. Yeah, I think I'm not quite as high as you, but I did like it. I did enjoy it. For me, Spider-Man was the first two Raimi films were like big for me. Like those are the first two superhero movies at all that I was really into, and just watched a whole lot when I was younger, and still today, and everything. So those were like the big ones for me. Checked in with the Andrew Garfield iteration and everything, and then I think obviously Tom Holland, his series within the MCU has just been really consistent. Like I think all of those movies are good to great. So and I think he's just wonderful in the part. I was like, this movie just has great actors like as these iconic characters, especially the Odyssey 3 that we mentioned before. For Tom Holland, Zendaya, and John Bernthal. I think that they are all perfectly matched to their characters, and we've seen them be great as them before. So it's like it has that going for it. It's a step up visually and with action sequences. I think something that Marvel has gotten a lot of flack for before. Everything looking kind of gray and sludge, and these uninspired action sequences. I think this movie is not perfect in that regard, but like a pretty big step up. And I like what Dustin Daniel Cretton is able to do with it. This movie has a highly anticipated villain that also a villain problem is an issue in a lot of superhero movies. So it's got a pretty one that people were curious about the performance and the character and everything. And so I think that this is kind of like, for where we are right now in 2026, I think that this is just about the best like top tier version of a like down the middle MCU movie that's possible right now. And I think it taps out at being like pretty good. Like and we'll get into all the likes and dislikes and everything. But I do kind of feel like unless you do something a little more off the beaten path, like say Wonder Man or something like that, where you are taking a bit more of a side tangent to the story, those are kind of the things that I might be a little more interested in moving forward. I think these like traditional big superhero movies, I kind of feel like this is the best we can get to right now, which there's nothing wrong with that. Like I said, I think the movie is good, and I do think it's something that's going for mass appeal. It's where I'm sure this movie's going to make $1 billion, and it maintains the quality to justify that. I'm not going to be at all mad if this does really well at the box office. Like it definitely is going to. But yeah, I just feel like the ceiling for a successful MCU movie is significantly lower than it used to be, but this one, it does hit it. And I was coming out of the theater, I was thinking about it as an interesting contrast with Supergirl from a few weeks ago. Supergirl is a character intro, where this one is the rare fourth movie in a series. Like we have barely gotten a series that's gotten to a fourth movie for one character. Supergirl had one prior appearance versus 10 years of history with Spider-Man and Tom Holland playing him, and also the external celebrity of like him and Zendaya that comes into play. Supergirl was like a cookie cutter villain versus this one has, like I said, that highly anticipated villain and everything. You got space versus grounded on Earth. You've got a sloppy script and direction versus something that not perfect, but I think is clearly done with a lot more care and effort. Supergirl is pretty much considered a flop at this point. And like I said, Spider-Man is expected to be a record-breaking smash by all regards. So it's kind of an example of like a superhero movie that could go just about as wrong as possible in this current time with Supergirl, and can go just about as right as possible with Spider-Man. And yet, the experience of watching both of them, I was like, this one is like, the overall experience is just maybe marginally better for me. Like I wasn't absolutely miserable at Supergirl. I wasn't absolutely euphoric at Spider-Man. It's all kind of like evening out for me a little bit. And I don't know if that's just my personal taste and the way that I've been a little out on Marvel as of late. But I wonder if just the general movie going audience, if this is going to be like that big giant movie that everyone is obsessed with for years to come. And I don't know that it hits any of those highs. But a solid superhero movie watch. And I think that at times I was a little slightly annoyed or a little bored, but at other times I was very entertained, very amused. I think that on another level, this is a pretty good New York movie. I really like how it incorporates that, which is that's a signature of Spider-Man specifically, and it is more reminiscent of the Raimi films that I really like. So mixed bag, but mixed positive for me.
It is interesting that you bring up the New York of it all before we get into spoiler territory, because this wasn't even shot in New York. This was shot in
Yeah.
Scotland, and they shot it
It
on
looks like it
location
looks like
too.
the Marvel version of New York, but
Yeah,
they incorporate some of
but it was
the
nice to
life
know
of
that
it.
it wasn't CGI-ified. Like they actually went on the ground and shot in a real location, which to me we could talk about more in spoiler territory, but that just impressed me so much because it's something that Marvel has needed for so long and everything. And I like to think that, and I think this has been reported in many interviews. Right before this movie was shot, Tom Holland did the Odyssey. Like literally, as soon as he was done with the Odyssey, he went into this movie, which is crazy to go back and forth and do two major, massive tent poles back to back without really any sort of break. And that changed his whole perception on sets because he was so accustomed to being on these CGI green screen heavy projects. But then he does this massive practical project with one of the great directors working today. He's like, I want that to be utilized in my next Spider-Man out. And look at what he did. So maybe we have Christopher Nolan to thank for that. So thanks, Christopher Nolan.
Yeah, I think you can feel in the action sequences and stuff too. It is significantly more tactile. Like it's a little bit less of the CGI sludge, and you can tell that some of there's it's been talked about the way that it shoots the web slinging and stuff. And yeah, I think that you can definitely tell that there's a little bit more craft poured into this than the usual Marvel project.
Same with the suit as well.
Yeah,
A
yeah.
lot of people have been talking about that too, and I'm like, oh my god, we see the suit move and everything. Like it's not just some CGI schluck.
I love that.
So
Yeah.
yeah, oh man, can't wait to break this down. So let's not waste any time. Let's get into full spoiler territory. So there's a lot to talk about. I can't believe that Sadie Sink is Vecna. I can't believe that. Like, who would have thought?
Who would have thought, except for anyone who watched that guy on the red carpet spoil the entire thing? Did you see that?
Thank God I didn't see that interview. I was texted about it, but we'll talk about her when we get to her. There's a lot to talk
Yeah.
about with that character, but it'll be a while before we get there. So let's get into Brand New Day and let's talk about how it starts. So setting up the movie, obviously, like I said, this takes place right after No Way Home. So the movie opens up with a montage showcasing Peter, isolating himself from reality and just being the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. We go through this time jump, this 4-year time jump and everything. We see him on his own, isolating himself from everybody. Nobody knows who he is. People know of Spider-Man, but nobody knows of Peter Parker because at the end of No Way Home, in order to stop the chaos from becoming even more chaotic, he asked Doctor Strange to make this wish of, can you make everyone forget Peter Parker? So we have Peter reliving those consequences and everything, and he's going about his journey as Spider-Man. But as we can see from these opening minutes, he is not who he was when this franchise started, and obviously so much has went down since we were introduced to this character 10 years ago. But this opening is such an interesting tone representation of the movie. Like there's some fun moments throughout the movie of we seeing him battling these villains and everything, some very silly villains, some run of the mill like bank robbers and crime people and what have you. But in the midst of all this, we see him kind of keeping tabs on MJ and Ned, who are now at MIT and having the successful academic life there, and Peter's all by himself. So this opening perfectly represents the isolation and the loneliness factor that this character is going through. And I thought it was a perfect way of opening up the movie and it was not the happiest way of opening up the movie. And I kind of had a feeling that this movie wouldn't open up on the brightest note because when the Marvel logo came up, it was just clips from Spider-Man, and it was very somber music, and I'm like, oh boy, here we go. Waterworks ignited. But yeah, I was very happy with the way that this film opened up. It didn't open up on some silly, sloppy comedy fest. Instead, it was more grounded and intimate. And yeah, there were some fun moments sprinkled throughout, but overall, it represented that this was not going to be the most uplifting watch going forward. So, how did you feel about the way that we jumped back into this world and we were seeing how Peter Parker was kind of going forward with everything after what went down in No Way Home?
I think, yeah, going into this movie, it does differentiate itself with the fact that you're dealing with the fallout from No Way Home, and like you have this natural dramatic tension of no one knows who Peter Parker is, and so how does he deal with that? So, yeah, I think I really like that opening montage, seeing him go through the different seasons, and I liked him fighting in the Spider-Man suit with a beanie on, and it gets like knocked off at one point. There's a lot of cute little touches like that. He's bringing flowers to Aunt May's grave, and also simultaneously he is like glued to his phone and living vicariously obsessed with tracking Ned and MJ and seeing what they're up to as they live their normal life that he wishes he was a part of,
And eating Little Caesars pizza.
Yes, definitely. Which also, I'm like, does he have a job? I don't know.
Did you notice that one Easter egg when he went to that convenience store and we
His
saw
beer
his
brand?
non-alcoholic beer?
Yep.
I like that. That was a little
I
nice
did. I
subtle
noted
touch.
that. Yeah, yeah. Get your advertising in where you can, I guess. And yeah, that it was well established. We get this relationship established with Liza Colin Zayas' character as a police officer, police chief, who's he works closely with in nabbing the bad guys and stuff. And they sort of have these phone conversations that are very much like she's advocating for him to have work-life balance. Like she's saying that you're gonna run yourself down. You've got to relax. You've got to have a life outside of your work of crime fighting. And in the meantime, we're also getting these hints of him physically changing. That being brought on by stress and burnout and everything is causing his his arachnid DNA to alter slightly, and that's the catalyst for a lot that goes on in the movie that he has to figure out. So he's having these sort of like physical reaction to being so burnt out and so committed to the job and only the job, and not really having any life outside of that. And I think it's very good. I think it kicks it off, like you said. It strikes it's a hard tone to strike with being fun, being back in the Spider-Man world, but trying to be a little bit more mature and talk about some of those. It's kind of like just kind of post-college blues where some people feel like other people have it figured out and you're still kind of struggling, and I mean, obviously he has pretty particular circumstances, but in terms of like the depicting isolation and loneliness and everything, I it's there. I kind of could have used a little more show not tell. Like I do think that it's very much said like Spider-Man, you need to be around people and you need to it's a bit drawn out, and I kind of I almost wish that we don't ever get any slight hint of Tom Holland being anything less than charming and wonderful and amazing. Like he's still this perfect little angel. Like you could have added a little more darkness in there if you really wanted him to be negatively impacted by his circumstances here. I could have taken it in a darker direction, and I think it would have been a little bit more effective. But he is our perfect little Spider-Man, and so I'm happy to see him dealing with this in a way that is I don't know, it never felt like insurmountable to me. It was never like he's completely in the wilderness, but it's a good establishment for the character where he's at right now. And then like we said, yeah, there's a lot more in the action that's established early on, a lot more kind of like handheld camera, and a lot more of the swinging POV, which I think is seems pretty inspired by like the video games where you play as
Yes.
Spider-Man and stuff,
Yes.
which is very cool. Like I don't think that's really been demonstrated with this more modern CGI and stuff. So yeah, just a lot about how this was established and everything. I was pretty on board. I think that I was and Tom Holland he's just so good as this character. Like you're just happy to be back with him, and seeing what he's up to, hoping he makes it through. So yeah, I think that the first 5-10 minutes of setup or anything were pretty solid.
Yeah, and then should we talk about like the big thing that sets the rest of the plot in motion?
Sure, yeah. We've got a tank on the loose. which Spider-Man is pursuing, and then of course we get the Punisher entrance, which I think this was highly telegraphed in the trailer and everything, but it was still like a really fun moment when Spider-Man takes the Punisher's gun and he like just pulls out another one. Like just they're I think that they're a pretty good duo. I think that they're getting a lot of good reviews for that. I think that they play off of each other well, and just are an interesting pair to throw together. So yeah, they're pursuing this tank. It crashes into the damage control headquarters. Also with the way that the tank flipped into the building, and then later with the character like teasing like, oh, and did you check what's in the tank, and it's a bomb and stuff. It was very much it was definitely giving the Dark Knight, like kind of reheating Dark Knight's nachos, not in a bad way, but also it's just you don't really you don't want to compare yourself to Dark Knight and make me think of that movie instead. But it's it crashes into damage control. There's a cool moment when the person getting out of the tank, you can kind of see there's like this transferring power where they're throwing themselves into another physical body, and Spidey like clocks that and everything. And so we don't know what's going on. We don't know who's behind that at this point. It's a cool action sequence. He's trying to, as this consciousness is like running through other people and hopping, he's trying to chase them and before it gets away on a helicopter and everything. A funny moment when it's all over, when the one guy is like that wasn't me, and Spider's like, okay, yeah, I understand that. And he's like, I wouldn't hurt you, I love you. Like cute little, I prefer like humor like that where you're cute little weird moments with the random citizens.
Yeah.
Like that feels very Spider-Man. So
Yeah.
what did you think about this action
I
sequence?
thought it was pretty cool, and like you said, like the way that the action was utilized throughout the entirety of the movie, like kind of handheld, and there's this one shot that has been lingering with me, and it was in the trailers and everything. There's the particular shot of him free falling, and it's like kind of zooming in on him, and then we get a shot inside his like goggles and everything, like a close up on his eyes. And I thought that was so cool, and I was watching it behind the scenes of how they did that, and I'm like, man, like, no disrespect to John Watts, and maybe this isn't entirely his fault, but I feel like if John Watts had directed this, it would have come off so differently. Like the action set pieces would have been handled very differently. So I think it's smart with how Destin Daniel Cretton utilized the action set pieces here. But the way that we're introduced to this new threat was really, really cool. I was watching a review the other day, and someone compared like the body hopping to like a theater class where someone would have to like move around like this and everything.
God.
And I
It's
was
like
like,
zip
you know
zaps up.
what? That is so fucking spot on. Because when I was in college, I had to take an acting class since I majored in film, and we had to study actors and how to direct them and everything. It was a very theatrical type of class. So I remember we had like a body movement exercise like that, and I'm like, oh my God, this feels way too close to home in so many ways.
Oh my
So
God, it's totally giving zip
really,
zaps up. I
I
didn't even think
really
of that.
liked that comparison, and I was so excited to bring it up because you're obviously a theater kid and you grew up in the theater background, so I really wanted to talk about that with you. But yeah, I really like the way that we're introduced to this thread, and we also get reintroduced to Scorpion, who was briefly in Homecoming, who was played by Michael Mando, who was so unbelievable on Better Call Saul. I was really excited to see him back in this universe and everything, because it's been 10 years since we last saw him. And even though he didn't have a ton to do in this movie, admittedly, I liked his sequences, his brief sequences in this film. So yeah, I really liked how we're introduced to this thread. It definitely posed a few interesting questions for sure. And then going back to the Punisher of it all, not to spend too much time talking about it because the relationship obviously builds as the movie progresses. I really liked the way it was utilized in this movie. I thought Tom Holland and John Berthel had a great rapport with one another. And it was really fun seeing them in this because they had a scene together in the Odyssey where John Berthel was like kind of grilling him and talking down to him. So it was kind of fun to see that kind of side here in this movie and everything. And I'm sure it was fun for you watching him in this, considering that you just saw him on stage recently. So I'm sure in that regard, it's like, oh, well, there he is.
If we're gonna have the John Berthel conversation now, I've loved him since Walking Dead. I've been
Same.
really obsessed with him. He's got such a like interesting presence. He's kind of like unlike many other actors. I don't know. He's very old school. And I
What's
watched,
that line he says in every project? Let me tell you
let me
something.
tell you something.
Yeah.
Some
Did
variation
he
of that.
say
I was
that in this
listening for
movie?
it. I didn't really notice it anywhere. And I heard him talking about how he said it in the Odyssey, but I don't think it was in. I think it might have gotten cut or something. I don't think it was in
Yeah,
the
I don't think
the
he
final
said it
version.
in the Odyssey either.
I was definitely expecting it to come here in Spider-Man because
Yeah.
I figured that's the kind of, meta thing that they would play with.
No, he's
But
great. He's a very talented actor. He's been
yeah.
one that I've loved since Walking Dead as well. And I wish that he was given a lead-in role in a film. Like I want him to lead a movie
This is
so
his first
badly.
film appearance as Punisher, right? I think he's
Yes, this
only
is the
been
first
in,
time Punisher's on this
yeah,
iteration of
he's been
Punisher's
in the
on the.
Daredevil show, and then he
Hmm.
had his own like special
Yeah,
this
he
year.
literally just had his own special and
Yeah.
everything. So yeah, he's awesome.
It's definitely I watched the first season of Punisher. Definitely, I think I kind of fell off after that a little bit, but I can definitely understand if people are like, I mean, this is obviously it's a PG-13 version of the Punisher, whereas the Punisher TV show is very mature, and so I could understand if people are like, oh, he's kind of neutered as a character, like he's not really, it doesn't necessarily feel like the same person, but I think I like when like two different tones kind of mesh together, and you kind of have to make some concessions in terms of how characters can fit into each other's worlds. So yeah, I think I just love him as a performer, and I think that he and Tom Holland play off of each other really well.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. So there's so many dynamics in this film and there's so much that's happening in this film. So shall we get into like a bit of the relationships and dynamics into this film
Sure.
before delving a bit more into the story of it all?
Yeah, sure.
So where do we start? Should we start with Peter and MJ? Should we get that one out of the way?
Sure, yeah. So, obviously we're in this place where MJ does not know Peter Parker. He's like we said, he's kind of stalking them online and trying to keep tabs on MJ and Ned and everything. But yeah, it comes into play. Well, as Peter goes to see, he's obviously looking for more information about this mystery of what's going on with the damage control headquarters and everything. He seeks out Yelena, Florence Pugh's character, which I was thrilled to see her.
Yeah, that's your girl.
I was laughing when she's like flirting with him a little bit, like, oh, you have to get naked and come into
Take
the
off your
into the hot
clothes.
tub. And I'm like Florence Pugh coming for Zendaya's man again. Like, this is just
Yeah,
doing
that
all
was a
over.
funny sequence. Him getting into the water, but still leaving his mask on and
Yeah.
everything. And then there was that random shot where he lifted up his feet, and she's like, "Ugh."
Yeah, not fun. And they're talking about the sexy fan art of Spider-Man. And then so yeah, he's dealing with that. He's trying to figure out the mystery. I guess that MJ comes into play when he's through this entity that is taking over other people. They sort of like threaten MJ. They understand that he's Peter Parker. They know how to they know all of his relationships and everything. So yeah, he now knows that MJ and Ned are in danger. He goes to he's got to race this entity to get to MJ first and
And he
get her
learns
somewhere
that they've
safe.
moved back to New York after finishing MIT and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. MJ and Ned are living together. And so, yeah, they go to the party first before this, right?
Yes,
The,
yes.
the party happens first. So he sees Ned around the city. He follows him to their apartment housewarming, and yeah, the interaction with Ned. He's trying to. It's very. I think this is a great like chance for Tom Holland to shine in his performance, where he obviously has years worth of history and recognition for Ned and MJ, and they don't know who he is. So yeah, he gets some cute moments with Ned. He gets to see MJ, and I think I think he's trying to keep his distance and everything, but she has a new boyfriend. He sees them kiss and everything, and that's just deeply upsetting to him. And
Oh my
as
god,
he is
the most valid crash out of all time. Just
yeah,
swinging around the city in the
yeah,
rain.
with the,
Oh
the,
my
the,
god.
the arachnid like taking over his eyes.
I loved that scene so much. I thought that was such an effective scene. And I remember when I got out of the movie, someone was like, "That moment in the rain was stupid." And I'm like, "Have you never been depressed and out of love and you just go swinging around the city in the
Just
rain?"
swinging
I've
around.
done it before.
Yeah. It's a good demonstration of like just what would you do if you're a superhero and you're upset. Like it plays with that a lot. So yeah, it's and then he passes out at home. He's dealing with, like we said, his DNA alteration and stuff like that, which creates a lot of issues for him. And then so then he finds out that MJ is under threat and goes to find her. So yeah, he reaches her. He tries to get her to a safe place where this person can't jump into her mind and take over her control. They're on this rooftop. I think they're having this very good scene where MJ is she's guessing that like, oh, do we know each other in some way? Like I feel like, I feel like I'm missing something. It's, we're kind of getting the sense that maybe the just the recognition of their love is like breaking the Doctor Strange spell, and she's remembering or something. They kiss, and then it is revealed that MJ has been possessed by this person and is it's inside her mind. She threatens to have MJ jump off the building, everything like that. So yeah, was that revealed? Did that work for you, or how did seeing them finally together and kiss, even if it was unofficially MJ? How did that
So
work?
when that moment happened, I'm like, there's no way that this is really MJ. There's no way
Yeah.
that this is all going to be resolved this early on in the movie, because then it would have kind of tainted the whole movie for me if that were the case and everything. But very effective moment. And what I really loved about a lot of these Peter MJ sequences is that I can't even imagine what it was like for the two of them to film these sequences together, where she has to pretend that she doesn't know who he is, and as we know, in real life, they're together, now married, of course. So I can imagine that these were not very easy scenes for them to perform, but I found it really fun to watch sequences like this, because they're obviously immersed in their characters, and they're trying to remind us, the audience, that we're not seeing Tom Holland and Zendaya, we're seeing Peter Parker and MJ. And it was a very intense sequence, and this wasn't the only sequence where this entity messes up with Peter, because there's that sequence early on in the movie where he's inside the Scorpion's body and he is judging him, he is abrasive, and Peter goes insane on him. Like, he goes full berserk. Like, we're talking emo Peter Parker, but like even darker. And that was a very harrowing sequence to watch, because again, as we've said, Tom Holland is like the sweetest, kindest, most perfect little guy, and we love him very much, and we hate to see him at such a low point, and to see him go to that point where he is really against who Peter Parker is supposed to be, especially as Spider-Man. That was very difficult to watch, and to see him be berated, not by the girl that he loved, but this person is inside the girl he loves, that makes it all the more difficult for him to stomach that in. And then she's like, I'm going to jump off this building, and he has to save her. And it was a very intense sequence. I thought it was pretty well done.
Yeah, because he does, he goes that like arachnid mode or whatever it is called. But when he realizes that MJ is possessed, he does kind of, and again, it's because of the person possessing MJ, but he does kind of like grab her by her neck and like is like leave her alone, like get out. Which
Oh,
the visual of it, I mean, he's like choking MJ, like it is a very abrasive version of him that we haven't really seen before. So yeah, it is pretty. I think it played well. Yeah, I think it was telegraphed pretty early on that this is not MJ. I heard someone saying even just the fact that like she always like freaks out when she's swinging with him when he's like holding her, and she was like perfectly calm when he was bringing her back there. So like a clue that was not her. So yeah, I think that was a pretty effective scene. And yeah, I just think the dynamics of their relationship, again, because we're bringing so much of like their real life relationship to it as an audience. I just think it's interesting to see them play that together. And then bringing her back as sort of to like a safe house. He brings her to Frank Castle's boat booby trap. I don't know, whatever the hell his living situation is.
kind of
And
reminded
they
me
have
of where Doc Ock was at the end of Spider-Man
true,
2.
yeah, yeah, very similar. And yeah, they have. I really like all of their interactions that happen here. Pretty much, they're he's tinkering with his suit, trying to get his DNA situation under control, and I guess because he's taken his mask off, they have them like separated by a sheet, and I was like, is this like kind of reminiscent of like It Happened One Night or something? They're kind of like trying to reference
Oh,
some
yeah, 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 yeah.
classic Hollywood romance sort
That's
of
so
thing.
fun. I literally just rewatched that movie like a month ago. That's
Yeah, I watched it for the first time when we had our Best Picture draft, and yeah, so I definitely thought of that, and just they're having just very, and this is the moments that I really connect to in the movie. Like, we care about their relationship. It's having a grounded conversation, and it's very cute when she says like, oh, and is there a Mrs. Spider-Man? And like Tom Holland just looks so fucking cute when she says that, and like we're just all kind of laughing at like, oh, she like in real life she's Mrs. Spider-Man, and
yeah.
just yeah, I just think that it's a great play on that relationship. And of course there's obviously the layers to it of like, even in context of this world. Like, yes, she's his person and everything. So he's explaining to her the problems with his suit and his DNA and how things are, going awry lately. And she helps him out with it and everything, helps him figure out some of the tech. But also says that, maybe you're just, he says it almost seems like you want to, tamp down the like monster inside you. And she says, from what I've seen, you're just a good guy who might be changing. And so I think that's where the biological stuff comes into play as a good metaphor for, it's kind of a coming of age story. It's kind of that sort of like early adult, like I said, kind of post college, figuring out where you are in the world. Your body is changing. You need to, can't like function the same way you always had when you were younger. Like I think all of that works pretty well to give him like a more mature problem to deal with. And like MJ is just there to point out that like you might not need to fight this change. Like it might just be something that you have to, figure out and live with going forward. So yeah, how did all of their talks on the Frank Castle ship work for you?
Well, before we get into the talk that they have and everything, yeah, I really liked the dynamic between the two of them, and it was interesting to see it from this angle of her not knowing who he is and how, even though she doesn't know who he is, she still finds a way of bringing the best out of him and motivating him, and she's basically like, oh, this is how we could solve your issue and everything with the device that he made that he put on the back of his neck and everything to control everything. So I really liked that dynamic and everything. And yeah, I mean, these movies have been pretty much angled as coming of age stories, which is something that you really can't say about the other Spider-Man movies that have come out. Maybe you could say it about Spider-Verse, but in terms of the live action Spider-Man movies, I don't really look at Sam Raimi's trilogy as coming of age, and I can't say the same about Mark Webb's duology, but this quadrilogy of Tom Holland movies, that's definitely the angle that these movies have presented themselves as, which I really commend. So, yeah, I really loved all their dynamics. I thought their sequences were really great together. They had great charm, great laughs, a lot of heart to them, so I really enjoyed that. But, to get to the talk of the movie, probably one of the more emotional moments of the movie, if not maybe the most emotional to some people. So when the movie began, we got this voiceover narration of Peter reading this note that he had written for MJ. This was the note that he was going to say to MJ at the end of No Way Home. And he kept it in a coffee cup, which was a really lovely little touch. And I rewatched all three of the movies right before going to see this, so it was very fresh in my mind of the coffee cup of it all. But also, they do show it in the movie. They show flashbacks of everything and what have you. But so he had been trying to give this letter and say it to MJ and everything, but when he goes out and does something that we'll get into momentarily, he comes back, she's there, and she discovers the letter. And she is asking him, so why didn't you tell me this? Like, what were we in the past? And like, and he opens up to her and says that he can't live his life without her. He's tried many, many times, but he's really failed at that. And Tom Holland is pouring his heart out in this really beautifully acted monologue. And again, it makes it interesting to watch because we know their relationship in real life. So it's like Tom Holland is supposed to pretend that like this person that he's with doesn't know who he is, and it's so heartbreaking to watch because again, when we see this Peter Parker at his lowest point, it's really hard to stomach, but it was so effectively handled. And I know that some people have been kind of nitpicky with the emotional side of this movie and how it may not be as well utilized as some people may think of it as, but I think that this entire sequence was really, really sincere. And MJ, you could tell that she feels terrible that she doesn't know who he is and reciprocate the feelings. And she basically says, I don't even know who you are. And like, I heard a slight chuckle in my theater, which fucking pissed me off. I'm like, why the fuck are you laughing during this very emotionally vulnerable moment? Like, fuck off. That ticked me off very much. A little bit of an event for me for a minute. But I thought that it was a very effectively handled sequence, and it's one of the stronger moments of the movie, and just thinking about it, it hurts, because I don't like to see Peter Parker at a low point. Like, he's like the sweetest kid ever, and to see him in this position, And admittedly, it's his fault that this happened in the first place, and just seeing how he regrets everything that went down, like it's so devastating to win this. So for you, would you say that this encounter between the two of them was one of the stronger elements of the movie, or would you say you were a bit colder on it?
No, yeah, any of the stuff with MJ and Peter, I definitely enjoyed the most out of the movie. I think that, yeah, Zendaya plays this well. I think that MJ just feels, hurt and lied to. She feels like if this really was, if he really does care about her in any way, like why would he not seek her out? She's a smart, capable person. Like why would you not try to at least get in touch, try to figure this out, try to solve it in some way, or at least just tell her. Just she feels like she's kind of a passenger in her own life in this situation because she is just doesn't have all of the information about her her own history and everything. So like I understand the fight that kind of happens there. I liked that when she goes to leave and then she's like, can you drop me off at home? I don't have any way of getting home. And the web slinging on the way home kind of felt like a silent car ride after an argument or something.
Oh,
They're just very silently. He's kind of the shot of where we're seeing Spider-Man head on. It kind of like as he's swinging, it kind of looks like he's like nuzzling into her a little bit, like smelling her hair or something, because like he's kind of wants to savor this moment because he knows she's going to be gone again soon. And then we get that as she drops her off, and I think she is still feeling hurt and confused by the whole situation, but she offers for him to come up to the apartment and hang out with her and Ned for a little bit, which again, that's like another just great grounded moment of like these people being having this relationship. And obviously we've established that Ned is a huge Spidey super fan. He's like always tracking where he's going. He's got the Spidey tracker app, and he's trying to figure out his identity and everything, because again, still in this, as far as they know, like Spider-Man has still done all of the events of the previous movie. They just don't know that that's Peter. So they've interacted with Spider-Man before, but yeah, just them hanging out, building Legos, quoting Lord of the Rings at each other.
oh,
And
that was great.
MJ is sitting there like saying like, yeah, I can see you guys seem like best friends.
When she drew that picture, that was actually like pretty emotional for me.
Drew it, yeah, looking like him, like Tom
Yeah.
Holland, like not with the mask on and everything. Yeah, I thought, yeah, that was just really beautiful. That was like great stuff. And I feel like throughout this movie, MJ kind of always says the perfect thing, and like not in a bad way. Like I just think that she's just such a wise character who gets to be like very very cool and knowing of everything. And so like yeah, I just like the way that they were all depicted here. It just felt like even if they don't remember, like they all just still have this inherent chemistry and love for each other that like comes through no matter what mind has been wiped or whatever.
Yeah. And, like this is where we should transition into like
Yeah.
another relationship and dynamic. And then we'll come back to how it all culminates in the third act and everything. We talked about it before. We'll get more into it. Let's talk a bit more about the dynamic between Peter and Frank Castle. I'll let you take the reins with this one and everything, since Bernthal is your new personal friend and everything.
Oh yes, absolutely. I did see his dog afterwards, after Dog Day Afternoon, who I've seen through social media before, so I was very excited. It's like another little celebrity. Yeah, like I said, I think that they have a great dynamic here. It's obviously very, one kind of Boy Scout, and then one who wants to be way way tougher and go in and just kill everybody. So it's a good dynamic. We get this giant climactic fight with the two of them and the Hulk, who also comes into the story as Peter seeks him out earlier as Bruce Banner to get some insight as to the tech he's trying to create for his DNA problem. And this villain has now possessed the Hulk, taken off his inhibitor that keeps him from transforming. So he's like transformed against his will. He's being used by this villain, and this is a really big set piece in the middle of the movie that I think a lot of people were excited for. From what I hear, it's kind of like recreating some of that sort of image of Spider-Man like pulling Frank Castle on the ground and like the Hulk jumping over them and stuff. Like that's kind of an iconic comic book image that came to life. So yeah, I think that this fight is really good. I love the sort of bickering with Spidey and Punisher during the fight. There's one moment where like Jean is watching on the screen, and they're like having a silent argument on like the security cam. So yeah, this whole interaction, MJ obviously prompts Frank to go after him and go help him in the fight. And yeah, so this is just I think that that fight was pretty effective. You know, it's maybe not the best, like, well shot and everything. Like, it does have a lot of just flying through windows and buildings and stuff. There was kind of that moment when the Hulk is, he's being like bore down by the building debris that's like stuck on him from the webbing, and he catches a glimpse of himself in the reflection. I kind of was like, are they gonna kill Hulk right now? Like, it was a little bit, I didn't
It
actually
felt
think they'd go
mirroring
there,
that
but
sequence in the Avengers when he was chasing down Natasha in that
mhm.
sequence and everything. I kept thinking of that, and with the way they're able to like make the Hulk's in his Hulk form very expressive is so impressive
Yeah.
because like usually with these CGI characters, it takes me out of it. Like I know that they're fake, so I'm not really feeling like I could relate to their emotions and everything and feel the way they're feeling. But seeing CGI Mark Ruffalo in that, it just gutted me very much. And I was really happy with how they utilized him in this movie because what I really liked about this movie overall, in comparison to a lot of the recent Marvel movies, they get these like popular characters that have already been established in the MCU to make these appearances in these movies to make them feel a bit like glorified cameos. And if you want to call them that here, I understand that. But to me, I thought the cameos were utilized very well throughout the story, like
Mhm.
everything with Punisher. Yelena's small time, I thought her stuff was really great. And I really liked what they did with the Hulk here. And it was also really great to see Mark Ruffalo back in the character because the last time we really saw him, like he was very briefly in Shang-Chi. He was in She-Hulk very briefly. But the last time we really saw him was in Endgame, and that was almost 10 years ago. And Ruffalo is so good as this character. So anytime he's playing this character, it's a rewarding experience for me because he's so good at both Bruce Banner and the Hulk.
Yeah, and I think, yeah, bringing in those side characters, it was. I don't think it overwhelmed the movie at any point, which definitely happens in a lot of other Marvel movies. I think it was all pretty well considered. Like, it makes sense that he would have gone to Bruce for this issue, and that then it's so shocking that Jean would use him as the Hulk, this gigantic tool almost to be sort of a heavy for to get done what she needs to do. And so yeah, the interaction with the three of them is great. The fact that Frank is like kind of low key terrified of the Hulk, and they're coming up with their plan of attack, and Spidey's like, "You just don't want to fight the Hulk," and he's kind of like, "Yeah."
I
That was,
like I like the comment where he was like, "I didn't even know you could get that big."
yeah. Yeah. All of that is pretty well done, and yeah, I guess unfortunately kind of results in the Hulk getting sent back to like psychiatric care because he's supposed to have this under control, and I'm sure we'll see that resolved in maybe another movie or something. But yeah, in terms of how Spidey and Frank come out of it and everything, I think that they have some great moments at the end too that we can get into when we're going over the finale. But yeah, they have a very fun dynamic that I think I kind of get the sense that we're going to see them paired up a lot now. Like, I think this is a pretty successful duo that people are going to want more of.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if some project is greenlit where the two of them are in it together. It wouldn't surprise me if maybe in the next Avengers movie. I don't know if either of them are going to be in Doomsday. There hasn't been any confirmation yet, and this movie doesn't really apply if they're going to be in it, but maybe Secret Wars, which is coming out after Doomsday, maybe they'll come back. It would be fun to see them work together again. Actually, it would be really fun if Tom Holland and John Berthel do more projects together in general.
Yeah.
Let's make a special prequel of The Bear, and Tom Holland is like his prodigy, his secret prodigy.
His secret prodigy. I mean, isn't that just Carmy?
It could be Carmy number two.
He could be a random cousin. They've got a lot of cousins.
Yeah, exactly. I could already picture right now. There's a sequence with Mikey and then Richie and then Carmy and then whatever they want to name Tom Holland's character.
He's already got a friendship with Tina, so she's here in this movie too.
How did you feel about her in this movie? Because I thought she was a lovely addition to this ensemble.
She was nice, yeah. I mean, she's sort of a bit of a just mouthpiece for Peter to, be able to articulate some of
it
what
was
he's
it was fun to
feeling
see
and
like
stuff.
she's
But
so sincere in this. Like you can
yeah,
tell that
yeah,
she is like kind of a bit of a motherly figure to Spider-Man because she's the one who's constantly saying that you need to take care of yourself, you need to take a
yeah,
bit of a break and everything. He's like, "But I like working, I like going out there, I like helping out you guys." And she's like, "Just leave the work for us. Let us take care of it. You take a break and we'll call you when we need to call you." And the sequences between them were pretty effective. Like after he attacks the scorpion, and like that sequence, like we didn't really get too much into it and everything, but he nearly killed a cop. Like he attacked a cop car and it flipped over, and the cop almost died. And even though
Yeah,
that wasn't
as
intentional,
it's
yeah,
as he's trying to get his arachnid DNA under control. So
yeah,
yeah, it's that's where he's very motivated to like figure this out and everything.
yeah. And like you could just tell like the immediate regret of him and how she's like just go home. Like she could have been screaming at him, but she didn't. She was very like warm and laid back, and she was like just go. And I liked their sequences together. They were brief, but I enjoyed her time on screen. I like her a lot.
Yeah,
I
I'd like
loved
to
her.
see
I
more if
loved
she
her on
comes
the
back
bear,
for.
and then see. I would have liked if there was a sequence of her and Punisher together. That would have been nice.
Her
It
and
would have
Tina and
been a
Mikey again.
Mikey and Tina reunion, but alas,
I was seeing people post screenshots of the episode that they like kind of shared together a
yeah,
lot in the last season, I think, and yeah, they were like, oh, this Spider-Man movie is weird.
yeah. It's like all these actors are now in the MCU. I'm waiting for the day where Jeremy Allen White gets plucked into the MCU.
He's too busy being a ripped hut in Mandalorian, so
God,
I don't know if he's gonna
what
dip
a
back
one
in.
note performance. Oh my God. So should this be the
All right,
time where we get into the
should we get
villain of the
into
movie?
yeah, I think so.
So
We're already on Rot of the Hut, so yeah, let's
So
talk about Jean Grey.
we subtly dropped her name and everything. We finally learned who Sadie Sink after all these months of speculation is playing, and she's playing Jean Grey. I want to get your opinion on this whole reveal before we get into breaking down her arc and everything. When it was announced that Sadie Sink was joining this project, I was very excited. I'm a huge fan of her. I think that she is one of the stronger elements of Stranger Things, especially as that show progressed. But I also think that she's proven herself to be a really promising performer outside of that. You could say what you want about the whale and how that character is a vile piece of shit, and she absolutely is. I thought she was very good in the whale, but then it wasn't until I saw her on stage in John Proctor's The Villain, which she got a Tony nomination for, a very deserving nomination. I was like, oh my God, this girl is the real fucking deal. Like, she is a really great performer. And it was honest. I think it was like the week after I saw it on stage when they announced that she was going to be in this movie. So I was really excited to see what she was going to do. They didn't tell us who she was playing. I kind of figured it was a pretty big character, although it wouldn't have surprised me if ultimately she was just a regular character, like just a regular person that happened to be intertwined with the story. But of course, like with everybody online, they love to speculate who these actors are playing. And then the red hair of it all was like, well, it's obvious that she's playing Jean Grey. And I don't like going into these Marvel movies or these superhero movies speculating what role an actor is playing. I just like to watch the movie for myself and see how it's utilized. When it was revealed that she was Jean Grey, I'm like, of course, Marvel's worst kept secret ever. Whoop-de fucking do. Did that reveal kind of ruin anything for you? Because I was worried that it was going to. It didn't necessarily ruin it for me, but I would have loved to have gone into the movie not knowing that she was playing that character. Even though it wasn't explicitly revealed, it was just so alluded to because of all this speculation online and everything.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way to hide it. Like they did the best they could, but it was just kind of an open secret at this point.
Yeah,
I think
and it's not the
people
movie's
had
fault either. It's not the
yeah,
movie's
yeah.
fault. It's more so the people online. It's their fault. Or maybe it's my fault for going on social media.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I think people had. I mean, prior to even any of the casting, I think people are constantly fan casting. And yeah, any up and coming redhead pretty much was their name was thrown out for Jean Grey. So I just kind of feel like that sort of predated even her casting, and so then it's just natural that the speculation is going to start. So I can't like. Sadie Sink, everything I've seen of her on the, promoting this and everything, like, no, everyone has been very good about not explicitly acknowledging who she is. And then, yeah, like a day or two before I saw the movie, there was, yeah, that clip of, I think it's an artist who did a song on the soundtrack who, on the red carpet, an interviewer asked him, like, oh, who's your favorite character in the movie? And he's like, I'm going to say Jean. Like, she's the villain, but, and the interviewer was kind of like, oh, okay. I just think that, like, everyone was joking that, like, Kevin Feige's snipers were, like, locked onto that guy, and we'll probably never hear from him again.
Did you see the interviews that Cookie Monster was doing on the red carpet? And Sadie Sink thought that he was going to ask her, being like, oh, what do you think of the role that you're playing? But he's like, what is your favorite kind of cookie?
I did not see that. That
Oh my
sounds
god, you
like
gotta watch those interviews. They're so good. Instead of having influencers on the red carpet, just have Cookie Monster do all the press and everything.
that
You
sounds
should
good to
watch the
me. Yeah.
interview he did with John Berthal where he was like, "Did Oscar the Grouch inspire your performance as the Punisher?" And he's like, "You know what? I definitely mirrored some of Oscar the Grouch in my performance as the Punisher." It's so
Oh
good.
my god. So
You
good.
got
Yeah.
as soon as we're done with this podcast, you gotta go watch those
I will,
interviews.
yes, I will check it out. But yeah, I mean, this was like it was an open secret, and I don't think I would have expected anything different. You know, it's really hard to keep a lid on. It was kind of similar to No Way Home, how like everyone insisted like Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are not in this movie, and it was by the time it came out, everyone was I think thrilled by the execution of it and everything, but it was not like a giant shock or anything. It had been very much rumored, so
Yeah.
it was kind of a similar reveal here. I think that I'm not too mad about the rollout or anything of it. I think that Sadie Sink is very good. I think that she's a great performer. I saw John Proctor as the villain, but it was after her run was over. So I heard that she was great in that. And yeah, I fucking hate the whale, but and I don't know that she's all that great in it, but I don't think she had a shot. So I liked her a lot in Stranger Things, the earlier seasons when I stuck with it. But yeah, so I'm excited for her to be here. I think that she is a great person to put some of this on her shoulders moving forward, and I think she's a pretty dynamic performer. I think that the intro and everything here was pretty cool. I think that, like I said, I enjoyed the the zip zap zop is now how I'm gonna think of it. The transferring power and how that was displayed, and it was sort of this like feat of choreography. Like it is just kind of these people like becoming inhabited with it versus some CGI slop that they could have done. So the way that she's introduced, the way that it's just built up and built up, was very cool. We get that one shot of her just like her face totally covered in the hood when she's like, when we see that she's breaking into Peter Parker's apartment to get the information about him. It's built up and everything. The reveal of her just like kind of sitting in the car as she was like, possessing someone else. I thought maybe that could have been executed like a little bit
I
better.
agree.
It was like a slightly underwhelming.
It
Again,
was a
after
little
we
too
like,
like sappy in my opinion. It's like
it was just kind of
okay.
like, yep, there she is, and I was like, well, we all obviously knew that was coming, but just after the build up, I was like, could have done with a little bit more, but
Yeah.
I like her function in this. Like I said, I think her powers are cool and demonstrated well here. I think that basically this is, I mean, they're completely intertwined in this movie. I think that anything with damage control is like easily the weakest part of the film. I love Tillman. He is awesome on Severance and everything, but that character just like absolutely sucks. He's just so, from the second he walks on screen, you're like, okay, well, that's the bad. I mean, we already know that damage control is like bad. Like it from the very jump, that Spidey is gonna have to uncover that they're being more nefarious than they're letting on, and that Jean is gonna have a point to what she's doing, and that it's not just she's evil or anything. Like I think all of that was just I don't know that you can help it. Like I think that's just kind of the nature of the story they're trying to tell, but I do think that all of that was just a bit rote, like a bit by the numbers. So I think that Jean, her introduction is cool. I like how we're again, like I saw it coming a mile away, but like we're at odds with her at first, and then obviously Spidey gets some more information, and he understands that damage control has abducted and or killed her sister. That's all that she was looking for. And I think when we get that like extended flashback of Jean and her sister, the day in the park when they're her sister has powers as well. We know that their mom has abandoned them. All of that stuff. I think that it was effective. It kind of like brings the movie to a halt. It just becomes like solely focused on Jean for a while. So I don't know, mixed feelings about that. If that was like seeded a little bit more throughout the movie, it could have been maybe a little more effective. But it is what it is, and I think that just tapping into like that actual flashback and stuff for a minute. I'm always kind of trying to view these movies through like things that are actually happening in real life. The way that Sarah is abducted very much felt like an ice raid. Like I do kind of think they were going there and evoking that sort of imagery, which I mean that's totally in line with the X-Men, serving as this metaphor for the oppressed class throughout society and everything like that. So I think that's a pretty effective direction to go, and the fact that obviously she's just looking for her sister. Like she's not been a villain the whole time. She's an anti-hero at best, and so yeah, I think that the introduction may be a little bumpy. I like the character. I like the performance. I'm excited to see where it goes moving forward. But it kind of felt a little bit like stale to me. It was kind of like we've done all this before, you know?
Yeah, I totally understand a lot of those sentiments and everything. I really liked the character. I thought she did a really great job in the performance. I think that she is really exceptional as a performer, and I think that the last two seasons of Stranger Things really showcased that she had a lot of potential as an actor going forward outside of that show and everything. Like that was where she was showcasing like her absolute strongest work. And I think she brought a lot of that into her performance as Jean Grey. And I certainly didn't know where they were going to take the character and like showcase her origin story. And I kind of like that she is a bit similar to Peter, where she's going through this sort of trauma and she's going through this loss and grief. And, you know, Peter has pretty much lost everybody in his life. Jean is in a similar position where the one person that she cared about the most is now gone and she doesn't know where she is or if she's even alive. And I definitely understand that some of the decisions with the character might have come off a tad stale. I was very engrossed with her arc. I was very interested to see how it was all going to go out and everything. And yeah, I have to unfortunately agree with you when it comes to damage control. Tremel Tillman is a fantastic actor. He's awesome. It would have been really, really funny if he told Spider-Man to eat shit like he did to that one guy in Severance, but he didn't. Or break out into song like he will in the Lin-Manuel Miranda
Yes,
movie.
and Octet.
Or do what he did in Mission Impossible, where he's like, and you must be out of your mind. But unfortunately, he didn't do any of those things. But that's okay. The performance from him, very much enjoyed. The character, one of my least favorite elements of the movie. And it's not that like, oh, he's generic. Like, sure, he is very generic, run-of-the-mill, evil, corrupt, bad person and everything. But I just feel like when we got the revelation of like who his character was, it was just like, oh, okay. Like it didn't shock me. I wasn't
Yeah.
like, oh my God. I was just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's all just a little bit underwhelming. And like I said, I think I started off stronger in the movie, and then you kind of get to the point where okay, we've revealed everything about Jean, and by the way, the reveal of like her actual, we had already seen Sadie Sink's face, but the reveal of like her name in whatever documents that
Yeah.
MJ and
Her
Peter are looking
name
through.
is Jean Grey. It's like,
Yeah,
all right, come on.
my theater went kind of nuts, and I was like, you guys didn't know that already?
I kind of rolled my eyes. I was like, oh, of course. Because I just
Yeah.
wanted her to be someone else. There was someone,
Oh,
I
you
read
were
someone,
hoping for like a Zag?
I was hoping for like a Zag and everything, like it was someone else. Someone online was like, how cool would it have been if, like, I know the whole multiverse thing was like kind of stopped, like that's non existent with Spider Man anymore. But someone was like, how cool would it have been? Maybe it would have been a bit on the nose if she was the daughter of Tobey Maguire Spider Man and everything, like him and Kirsten Dunst MJ. Like that would have been kind of interesting, but I don't know. Would that have been a cool reveal? I don't know.
It would all depend how it's executed. Yeah,
Exactly.
I can see the idea of in the marketing and everything, building it up to everyone thinking that she's going to be Jean, and then kind of taking a different direction. But beyond just the immediate shock of it, I don't know that it would have really contributed anything else to the
Yeah,
movie.
probably not. But and yeah, I do echo what you said about the flashback, and maybe it wasn't intentional, but it did kind of look like an ice raid, and it was very effective. In my opinion, I might have been a little more affected by it than you were, but I definitely would have liked a bit more with it. But then it's like this is Spider-Man Brand New Day, not Jean Grey Brand New Day. So
Yeah, I
like
felt like we were seeing her origin story movie for like 30 minutes there.
yeah, and I mean, I liked that they gave time to her. I enjoyed that she wasn't just someone who had like 2 minutes of like exposition or explanation surrounding
Yeah,
her. Like,
true.
I liked that they gave, they halted the movie and gave it a bit of time to like explain who this character is, even though we know Jean Grey, but apparently the origin story is a little different here than the Jean Grey that we've previously seen in other adaptations of this character and everything. So I liked those sequences quite a bit. I enjoyed them thoroughly. And I think right here is where we should transition into the third act, the final moments of the movie and everything, the final like 30 minutes, the big climactic action set piece, and then what happens with Peter. So this action set piece where he's in this building and then he fights like all these people and everything. these ninjas. I wish that
They're,
we
they're,
got a
they're
bit
the
more with
they're the
them.
Hand, I think.
With who?
They're called the Hand, I think. They're like a
Yes.
villain supergroup that I don't know. Damage Control is now. I don't quite understand the relationship there, but I know that they've been
Yeah, and
featured in
Jean
other
is
stuff.
like controlling them and everything in the midst of this situation and everything. And
Yeah, so as they're,
oh,
testing Jean and stuff, she's been looking for her sister sent her a telepathic signal of something called VMAX, and so she's been looking for,
which
assuming
is
like
so
that's where she's
funny
being
because she
held.
played a character named Max. I think that's such a funny thing.
True. Yeah, yeah. So, she's been searching for that, assuming that's where her sister is held or something, as she's being, experimented on, sort of tortured with whatever they're trying to get out of her. Like, she sees that that's just like a sign that was on the vent next to the wall. And so, like, that's kind of confirmation for her that that's the last thing her sister saw, and she's more than likely dead. They, killed her by experimenting on her and everything. So that's kind of the, like, switch moment of just, she kind of snaps there and projects this like force field that holds a
Yeah,
like
that locks the
mile
city and
radius.
everything.
Yeah. Which again, I guess as they were testing her, her powers were kind of like ramping up. They're like, oh, she's getting more and more powerful and everything. And yeah, Spider-Man is fighting through that. I don't. Do we get an answer really why he's like kind of immune to it? I don't really know. I guess just his special DNA and stuff.
I'm not sure. I don't think we get an answer
Yeah,
for that.
yeah, so he's still making his way through through trying to get to her and you know break her out, help her. She's speaking to him telepathically and stuff, and so yeah, she has this moment speaking to him through the other people of like do you want to be Peter Parker or do you want to be Spider-Man? He has this big line where he's like, I'm both, and sort of we see the arachnid eyes take over, and he kind of like
Well,
goes ham for a
he
second there.
takes off the
But
device
he
and
takes
everything.
he
Yeah.
takes off his like dampener thing that's been holding back this more biological force that's been growing in him. And so yeah, he kind of like goes nuts, but then he also like uses his web to keep someone from getting impaled on the wall, and then it's like, okay, we're back to Peter Parker eyes and stuff. So obviously it's like, okay, he's mastered how to take this change that's happening within his body. His we didn't mention that he's been slinging webs like naturally, like from his biologically versus his like web shooters tech kind of thing. So yeah, I think that where I'm like, I don't necessarily know what that means exactly. I guess just that he's found some sort of balance and is not afraid of tamping down what's inside of him. He's learning to deal with it and control it. And so yeah, he fights his way into Jean Grey. She's sitting there with Tramell Tillman like ready to kill him and stuff. This slips a little bit into my like villain pet peeve where up until now we're like, all right, Jean is like she's just been trying to get her sister back this whole time, like we know that now, and so that's all has been revealed. And she kind of just slips into like, if you push me too hard, like he dies and they'll all die, like everybody in have, I don't know, whatever it is, quarter of New York that she's gotten this force field. And I'm just kind of like, what, like I get a little annoyed when villains are right to be upset or right to seek revenge or whatever it is that they're doing, and they're just kind of like, fuck it, I'm just gonna go full villain and like kill half the city. Like I understand that it's something that Spider-Man quickly talks her down and everything, and but I just get I want righteous villains to have to actually deal with the fact that like, yeah, maybe it is right to kill Tramell Tillman's character here. Like maybe that's the what he deserves in order to not cause this harm to other people. And it's kind of like we just waylay all that to be like, yeah, she's going a little nuts here. Like she's gonna kill half the city. So it's not my favorite like execution of a third act villain turn and everything. But again, it's like it's that's kind of the story they're going for here. I don't necessarily know how they could tell it differently. Just wasn't my favorite.
Yeah, I totally get that and everything, but like him kind of accepting the darkness that is in him and everything, I really liked that sequence and everything. I liked the shot of his eyes going black and everything, and then him just like in rage mode fighting all these people and just like taking them down, and it was really really cool. And yeah, I really liked this action set piece. And then finally, like, he reaches Jean and he allows her to read his mind. And throughout the movie,
Right.
we
Yeah.
see a bit of this memory, and we haven't talked about this yet. We see this
Mm-hmm.
memory of Aunt May, and I would assume this moment is not too long after she finds out that he's Spider-Man, which was how
Mm-hmm.
Homecoming ended and everything, with her walking in to the room and seeing him in the suit and everything. And there's this moment where we see her talking to him, and then instead of him that she's talking to, she's talking to Jean Grey, being like, the reason why people love you isn't because of like your powers or anything. They love you for you. And you know, he offers Jean understanding over her loss, and puts himself like in a position to where he recognizes that what she has done isn't right, but her intentions weren't meant to be as bad as they were. And this effective sequence between Tom Holland and Sadie Sink, they're so good in this moment that I kind of got a bit emotionally overwhelmed, because it's just like, oh, they're like opening it up and they're letting out how they feel, because throughout the movie, both of these characters have been bottling up how they're feeling, and bottling up is not the right way of going forward if you're at this low of a point. And obviously these characters have both gone through their extensiveness of trauma and grief, and it's understandable why they don't want to open up about how they're feeling, but ultimately opening it up was the right thing for them to do, and they didn't expect to confide into each other because of what they were doing to one another, particularly with what Jean was doing to Peter and his psychosis and everything, by putting herself into people that he loves and messing around with him and everything. And it ultimately led to one of the more harrowing moments of the movie, to where before this void thing like disimmerses and everything, we see Frank like, putting out a shotgun, trying to like tack her down and everything. And when he shoots, this is at the point where now they're on good terms with each other and everything. But Peter steps in the way to protect Jean, and he gets shot. How did you feel about this whole moment?
Yeah, and just to go back to the flashback and stuff. Yeah, I didn't love the escalation of Jean to this big bad villain, but I did like this de-escalation. Like I liked her conversation with Peter. It was very reminiscent of the Thunderbolts ending, like kind of embracing the villain and being like, we just. You just have to kind of they've both been trying to go at it alone up to this point, and it's kind of like, obviously Peter is teaching her the lesson that he needs to learn himself, and that you need people around you to help you and to work with you. And like it's a nice moment when she says, even if that's true, like, I don't have anybody. My sister was my last family, and he's like, well, you have me now. And he's obviously learning that they both need this community, and they can't just keep staying isolated like this. So all of that worked very well for me. Yeah. Yeah. When he gets shot, I was like, first of all, like, crazy shot. That was from like across the river, I think. I was like, okay, I guess Frank can do that. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't think he was gonna die or anything. It was just kind of like,
I mean, I didn't think he was gonna die, but it was just like, oh, he got shot. Like that's pretty insane. And like, just seeing like Frank feel very deflated when he realizes that he got shot.
Yeah.
Like, oh, seeing vulnerable John Berthold, oh, so sad.
Yeah, and then, I mean, again, some logistics questions. I don't know how he got to Spidey to bring him to the hospital and everything, but then like him carrying him into the hospital and everything, and sitting by
That
his
was a
by his
shot
bedside,
in
and
one of the comics of like him carrying him, and I'm like, oh, powerful.
yeah, yeah, and their little banter when he wakes up and stuff is all pretty well done. The picture of that MJ drew is next to his bedside and everything, so clearly she's been there. So yeah, it was a good and we see news coverage of the whole city celebrating him and hoping for his recovery, and just I like that this is just a clear, like, unabashed, that like the city loves Spider-Man and everything that he does for them, and all that stuff. It's not really dealing with any of the more like dark side of being a hero kind of thing quite as much. So I like that. I think that jives with the character well.
And we learned too that the reason why Peter is still alive despite the near fatal wound is because of Jean. Jean does everything that she can to help keep him
Frank
alive.
says, like, she used her voodoo magic on you or whatever. And he's like, a guy in my theater was like, voodoo magic. Oh my God. But yeah, that was, yeah, he didn't quite understand. But,
Yeah,
but
and
Jean helped
Frank
him stay alive.
apologizes for his actions and how he kind of talks down to Peter and kind of treated him unfairly and everything, and recognized that he's a good guy with good heart and good intentions. And we get a really, really sweet but also hilarious moment where he's like, how am I
I
supposed to leave the
loved,
hospital? He's
yeah,
like,
I
don't
loved his
worry, I
plan to
have that
leave.
taken care of. So Peter walks out of the hospital. Then we see a shot from the hospital room where he has the Spidey mask on. And he's just like, yeah, like, and that was really, really funny seeing that and everything. And we get that really sweet shot of Peter and that kid exchanging each other. Then they do like the web thing, the web gesture,
Yeah.
which was really, really cute. So
Yeah, it's a really good moment. Yeah, the Frank stuff is so funny. Him like waving from the window and
yeah,
everything. And I was kind of like in the moment, because Peter gets to like walk out into the crowd and see everybody with these Spider-Man signs and cheering for him, and how much everybody loves and appreciates him and everything. I was a little like, okay, what does this mean in terms of the work-life balance theme that we've been going for? Like, it almost feels like he can't quite repair things with MJ and Ned yet or anything, but like like he has fans. Like, I don't know, it felt a little bit mixed on it, but I don't know. I guess it is still, it's admirable that they had the restraint to not just wrap up with MJ and Peter are back together and like it's all good. So
yeah.
I feel a bit mixed on it. Like, obviously it's kind of like he's back on the journey to rediscovering his tribe, his close people and everything. And I guess it's kind of like he didn't have an issue the whole time with like New York City appreciating Spider-Man, but I guess it's a good moment to cap what he's done here and just take a moment to appreciate the good work he's done versus always trying to push himself to do more and more. So
Yeah.
yeah, the shot of him like looking around, kind of just like smiling to himself, I was like, it's very girl who's going to be okay. the meme. I was like, yeah, he's kind of like, okay, I'm doing all right. I'm giving. I guess it's kind of like he's giving himself a pat on the back for the first time and being like, I've accomplished a lot here, which is good.
Yeah, and he makes a vow that he does not need to be alone to be Spider-Man, and he's willing to be more open and have people help him out and everything, which I'm very appreciative of, to see him hopefully get back to the happy place that he once was at when all this started. But then let's talk about the final scene of the movie. Let's talk about that. So he's on the phone with the cop and everything. He ends the call. He stumbles into this convenience store that he's gone to many times throughout the movie, and he sees Ned. And he had already met Ned briefly at the party earlier on in the movie, but he goes up to him and he introduces himself and he's like, "Oh yeah, you're the guy at the party with the flowers." And he's like, "I'm," because at the party he gives a different name, but now he's like, "I'm Peter." So then he goes for a handshake, and then they do the classic Peter and Ned handshake and everything, and like it slowly morphs into Ned partaking in it as well, and then he says Peter, and then the movie ends. So like, what's your interpretation on this? Like, do you think now he knows who Peter is? Like, what's your take on all this?
I mean, I think the way that Jacob plays it, it definitely looks like that's recognition. I don't know that that means everything has completely flooded back and he like completely remembers Peter Parker, but obviously there's some sort of like, some sort of inherent primal feeling of just like a physical memory of doing something that can like jog the memory maybe. I've seen theories floating around that like Jean Grey messing in people's minds could maybe it messes with the strange spell, because there's that moment when she's possessing Hulk. He kind of has that moment of recognition too, where he's got Spider-Man pinned and he's like, it's me, it's Peter. He kind of like is looking at him more closely. So it's like that happens when she's in his mind, like she has been in MJ's mind, and maybe something about being in the force field, which MJ and Ned both were in. Like maybe that kind of opens a door to mess with the Doctor Strange spell. And so yeah, I don't think it's definitive. I'm sure that we will find out at some point if this is just if this was a just sort of inherent thing that he was feeling, just like a deja vu kind of thing, where you just feel like somebody even if you don't have all the pieces back together. So yeah, I don't know. This was my theater was a little weird on this one. He kind of said like Peter Parker, or he said Peter back to him and stuff. And my theater was like, what? Like it was kind of I don't know. I think it could have been I think it's a fine note to end on and leaves open the possibility for what comes next. I think you could have just played with them never remembering and just sort of reestablishing their relationship and everything. But yeah, I don't know. Again, a little bit mixed on it, but how did it work for you?
Yeah, I'm a little torn on it too, but I do kind of like how it ended on a bit of an ambiguous note. I like that it's not like pretty definitively clear that Ned remembers Peter. I liked that moment and everything. It was very bittersweet and earnest, and yeah, I would like to think that he remembers him and everything, but I'm interested to see if they address it in future movies and everything, in future projects. I'd be very fascinated to see how it goes from there. And then briefly before we talk about very briefly the post credit scene, which I mean to me
Very
like
brief.
I don't have a ton to say about it, but I just want to talk about like the credits themselves. Most of these
Oh yeah.
Marvel superhero movies have these very like flashy, in your face, like special effects heavy credits. This was very intimate. I liked the B roll of New York City the day to day life routine and everything, and how you had this very somber song underneath it, and it was very lovely. It reminded me, fittingly enough, and it's funny that we're bringing this up because two actors from this movie were in the show. It kind of reminded me of that one episode of The Bear where the credits were playing over like shots of Chicago and everything. I think it was during that like episode in season one where they had to like cook all the meals and there was all the debacle in the kitchen. I think that was in season one where the Sufjan Stevens song was playing underneath it. It reminded me so much of that because all these other Marvel movies had to be like the very flashy, exciting, but this was a bit more like reserved, and I kind of liked that approach to the credits. And I haven't seen many people talking about it. Maybe it's just me that was really in love with this decision.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it as well. And again, it feels like they're really going for this being more of a like New York City movie. And like you said, it definitely feels like they're on not actually in New York for most of it, but this felt very much like modern day New York and the kind of world where Spider-Man is existing every day. So yeah, I really appreciate that more like grounded approach. And then we get a very brief like end credit scene where we're just seeing the Spidey tracker. It's locating him in New York area, and then it's shows out in space. There's been a ping on the Spidey radar. I don't necessarily know what that means. I don't. I wasn't sure. Going into this and everything, I wasn't sure that it hadn't been confirmed if Spidey was in Doomsday. So to me, I was just like, oh, okay, he's involved in the Doomsday events or whatever. But I think there's speculation this could be another Spider-Man character, whether that's like live action Miles Morales or some other iteration. I don't necessarily know. I'm not locked in quite enough to know, but I know there's a lot of speculation running around.
I think it's like another Spider-Man from a
Another
different
version.
universe. That's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking. Like, because there is no confirmation if he's in Doomsday. Like, there still isn't
Yeah.
any confirmation if he's in it. At this rate, I feel like he's not. If they haven't said he's in it, I don't think he is in the movie. But you never know with Marvel. Like, you never know what they're gonna do and everything. So, yeah, I don't really. Honestly, I was thinking about it when I left the theater. I'm like, if you miss this post credit scene, like, it's a nice little like touch going back to Ned's like tracking device and everything. But other than that, there's really not a ton to it. Like, you could have just left the movie when the movie ended with the before the credits, and then it would have been fine. Like, if you missed this, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, that's. I don't have a
I
ton to
liked
say about it.
I liked the moment in the movie when Spider-Man is talking to Frank and he's like, "How did you find me?" And he's like, "Oh, I've got eyes everywhere." And he's just using the Spidey tracking app. That was cute. But yeah, I don't necessarily know the broader implications. I think they're keeping it pretty vague. But we'll see. I assume it's all of the post credits in recent years have kind of been pointing to Doomsday. So I'm gonna assume it's gonna come into play there.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Are there any things that you want to highlight that we haven't really touched upon, like the action, the cinematography, the Michael Giacchino score? Like, is there anything that you want to touch upon that we haven't brought up yet in this review?
Yeah, the score I really liked. I didn't like notice it too much, which yeah is a good thing. It's not like calling to attention to itself or anything, but yeah, pretty solid work. I think we mentioned this in the beginning, but I really do love the more pared down suit. Like I just think that the Stark Tech suit was just a little bit much. He could kind of just do literally anything. I really like how the just aesthetically and how it functions in the movie. I think it was just way more effective to have him be on this smaller scale. Yeah, I think other than that, we talked about some of the action choreography. I do think that this is really like I think that Dustin Daniel Cretton is a step up. I think the John Watts movies are fine in terms of direction and visual style and everything, but it just feels way more in that Marvel House style, and this feels a little bit more unique and grounded and everything like that. So yeah, I think that's pretty much all for me.
Yeah, I really liked the way that the action was utilized here. I liked the practicality of it all. I liked the score by Michael Giacchino. I liked some of the Neo drops in this movie. We got a Tame Impala Neo drop, which was fucking awesome. That was so sick. Yeah, I think that there was a lot that I really enjoyed about the movie, and I think that this is also one of the better looking Marvel movies in recent memory because I feel like a lot of the Marvel movies have the same distinct sheen to them, like the same color palette, but this really felt colorful, and it didn't look like it was on a green screen soundstage. It looked like it utilized the real locations, and I really commend them for doing that. I truly think that hopefully going forward Marvel projects do that. I don't see Doomsday doing that, unfortunately, but hopefully after
Yeah.
that, like the non-Russo brothers projects, they go forward and doing stuff like that.
I mean Ryan Coogler shooting Black Panther 3 on film. They're really trying to.
I trust him.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
trust him, but the Russo brothers, no, they need to prove to me that they could do something like that again. I miss the Winter Soldier stays. I don't like that they're utilizing this CGI crap fest with all this green screen and shit. I'm not saying don't use CGI. Like CGI could do wondrous
Yeah,
things, and
yeah.
you can't do everything with practical effects, but use it in the right way. Like make us care about the CGI usage and everything. Make it feel earned. Don't make it feel like a gimmick and everything. And I also, and we really haven't talked about this either, I like how this movie stripped back the comedy. Like you watch the other three Spider-Man
A
movies,
little
and
bit.
they, okay, maybe you don't think they stripped it back?
I don't know. There were. I mean, there definitely was some, and some of it worked for me, and some of it didn't. I was like, there were a couple moments of the like him breaking back into damage control to find Jean, and he does the little like stretching bit. I was like, that's a little
Yeah,
lame.
I mean that was
The
fine.
when he's fighting the hand and everything, they like do all their cool moves and stuff. He's like, oh god, that's cool. I'm like, oh, we don't need to call out like, I just kind of let moments breathe rather than be like make a joke
Yeah, I
all the
just
time.
think
I
that
guess it's a
it
bit
was
pared
nice
back,
though that
but
this movie didn't rely on just being funny because I felt like the other three movies kind of did. And I mean, I get it that now he's a bit older and everything, and obviously everything that went down with him, like it's supposed to be a bit more serious and emotional. I'm not saying all the comedy words because the stretching thing, like it was fine, I guess. Like it didn't annoy me, but I liked that they kind of scaled back on that. It didn't rely so much on the comedy.
yeah, I mean it's going for something darker, so obviously those stretches are not. But yeah, I don't know. I think that Marvel's still gonna marvel a little bit. There were some
Yeah,
quippiness in there.
unfortunately, they're never gonna not Marvel
Yeah.
itself, so we shall see what happens. But yeah, is there anything else? Any final things before we give our ratings?
No, I think we can go ahead. I mean, any awards consideration, I would say no.
I would say that if this were to get nominated for any Oscars, visual effects would be the only thing that it would be in consideration for. I believe that all three, or no, No Way Home, I think is the only one that has gotten
Okay.
nominations and everything. So I don't really see like,
Which was a weird COVID year and stuff. So
yeah. So I don't see this movie getting nominated for anything else outside of that. I will say though, this is going to be a huge moneymaker. I went to the
yeah.
theater last night, time of recording, to go watch I Want Your Sex. And I went to my theater, my local theater. I go to it every single week. There's a back parking lot there. I haven't had to park in the back of that theater in probably 10 years. I was shocked. I couldn't, it took me 20 minutes to find a parking spot. I was like, this is insane to me. And I know that most people were there to watch Spider-Man because they had a 2 a.m. showing at this theater that was sold
Mhm.
out. That stuff does not happen in New Jersey. Like New Jersey people are fast asleep at that point, except for Veronica, but she's a New
Yeah, I'm always up.
Yorker deep down, so she doesn't really count it as a true New Jerseyan like myself, where I'm in the middle of it all. But I was just like,
I'm right on the river.
you're right. But I was just like, oh my God, people are actually coming out to the theater and watching this, but then also obviously the Odyssey. So if you're a fan of Tom Holland, this is like a perfect time to go to the theater and everything to watch.
Yeah, I saw it in Jersey City, not in New York, and at a 9:30 p.m. screening last night, it was sold out. So, yeah, this is, I mean, it's the tracking is looking like insane. I think it's going to be the biggest opening of the year. And like I said, I think the quality is there. I'm definitely not mad. I'm not like, oh, this is some, Marvel slop that everyone is going to see. Like, it definitely, the quality is there. The characters are there. Like, I'm happy to see this one do really well in continuing this great movie theater year that we've talked about so much. It's really awesome that like culture is surrounding movies so much.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I was very impressed, and I'm excited to see the success of it. I think it's going to do really, really good bank. And it really could end up being like possibly the highest grossing movie of the year with the success that I've seen from last night and the night before and everything. I just think that this is going to do very, very well. Probably much better than Sony and Marvel could have expected them to. So yeah, I'm excited to see how this plays out box office wise and everything. So what would you rate Spider-Man Brand New Day?
This is a 3.5 for me. I was like maybe bordering on 3, but it's yeah, a solid 7 out of 10. Like I said, mixed positive. We broke it down a lot of things that I had some nitpicks about, but overall I think it's a pretty successful movie, and I'm just happy to see Tom Holland in this character again. I don't know how many more times he's going to do it, and I don't know that I would want him to continue to do this forever, but while we're here, I'm happy to have him in another really solid movie.
Wow, you said that you were 3.5 teetering on a 3. I'm a 4 teetering on a 4.5. Which I didn't expect to be. I was like, oh, I'll probably be like, oh, it's fine, whatever. But like again, I just really resonate so much with this movie, particularly with how it commented on mental health. Like that really sat well with me, and like I that's why I was so attached to the movie, probably more than a lot of other people were. But I overall think that it was a really entertaining time. It showcased the side of Spider-Man that we haven't seen in so long. Probably his most humanistic in since Spider-Man 2 in live action form, of course. Like I don't want to push aside Spider-Verse. I love both of those movies very much. But yeah, to me, this was a win. This is probably my second favorite MCU movie of the 2020 so far. I think that, fittingly enough, my two favorites of the decade happen to be directed by the same person. And I wish that he would do more, but I'm excited to see him hopefully tackle other projects after this and everything. But if they do make a fifth Spider-Man movie and they bring him back, I'm more than happy with that, quite frankly. I would love to see him continue directing this character, and I'm excited to see where everything goes with Tom Holland's Spider-Man going forward. And this was a huge surprise for me. Like I said again, it's not perfect. It has its flaws. I went into it thinking that I was going to like it, but I liked it much more than I anticipated. I felt a deep connection to it, and I was really impressed with what it had to say and how it explored it and how it expressed how it was feeling and everything. So, yeah, I was a big fan of the movie. I'm really happy that I kind of loved a Marvel movie again. It's been a while since I've said that about any Marvel movie, so, yeah, thumbs up for me.
Yeah, I'm like, if I had to guess right now, I would say that maybe it's likely that like this is, if they do two trilogies, like if this is the first of a new trilogy that they would complete with Tom Holland and Zendaya and all of them, like I kind of just feel like this is going to make so much money. It's going to be really hard to let them go, even if they're all happy to move on. So I'll be curious to see where we go from here.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that, that is a wrap on today's episode of Some Like It Real. Thank you all for joining us. If you're interested in following along our journey, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd at Brian Sutfield.
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Vera Albarella and on Letterboxd at Alba_real_A.
And you can follow the show on all socials at Some Like It Real, as well as on YouTube at Some Like It Real. Be sure to subscribe and share it around, and tune in every Monday and Thursday for a new episode of Some Like It Real on podcast platforms.
We'll see you next time.